Young Lion TV. You are live with us. Thank you guys. If you're in the chat right now, make sure you say hello and drop a little comment in there. Let us know where you're watching from. Let's get the algorithm supercharged. Also, share the video. Hit that like button. If you're watching on Facebook, we love you. YouTube, we love you. Rumble, we love you. Twitter, Twitch. We thank you guys for supporting us. Again, the algorithm does not like what we talk about because we've been telling it like it is for a couple years now, and we get no help from the algorithm. So we need you guys to help out by sharing the video and hitting that like button and letting everybody know that this is a conversation that they might want to hear. So without further ado, I got my brothers with me in the building. Of course, sitting next to me with the pink jersey on. Only the coolest Asian in the world could pull off that jersey and make you and still be manly, you know.
It's a pretty popular jersey, Jamie.
I'm just saying, only you could pull it off.
Messy, man.
I know that. But Messi wears it on the field. Simone wears it in public. He is Simone Chang.
What's up?
And of course, we got back by popular demand, the most confusing man in the world. In the podcast game, I'll say. There's other confusing people in the world. Mm-hmm. But in the podcast world, he eats black.
No, you messed it up.
Well, I messed it up. He looks black. He eats Indian, but he's got the Spanish last name. He is Mr. James Garcia.
You better believe it.
And of course, I got my big brother, but he's everybody's big brother, the preacher, the teacher, the people reacher, Mr. Jacob Eugene Evans III in the building. And I am your navigator for the evening of these podcast waters, these live streaming, the stream. Hopefully I do a better job than people driving that boat in Baltimore. I am the every light-skinned person that you've ever met, and your cousin and your uncle and your nephew and one of your family members that you think is light-skinned with a beard.
Not even light-skinned, white.
Yeah.
White people too.
Any white guy with red hair with a beard.
Yeah.
Jamie.
That's me. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor all the time. St. Patrick's Day, I couldn't.
He's in a movie.
I know. I heard it was terrible too.
Yeah, it was nice.
Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
He's a horrible actor. A Roadhouse remake.
Yeah.
They remade Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Isn't that a classic?
Yeah.
But my name is Jamie Evans.
Sorry.
We've already podcasted.
On a tangent.
Let's get it going.
And then, of course, last but not least, we have, she's the best producer in the world. She pushes all the right buttons. And, you know, she's our mother, so we love her. That's what is the thing I used to say? Yeah, she's the best producer in the world because she produced us. Oh. And she is Miss Angeli Lopez.
Unlike some fair share of conspiracies.
Yeah, but so a lot going on, guys. I'm sure everyone has heard about the Diddy situation escalating. You know, we talked about it on here weeks ago when the that case got filed. We showed the Candace Owens breakdown. There's going to be a lot of Candace Owens content, so it's funny because we showed her whole breakdown of the case, and I posted that clip, and that clip got some pretty good traction on like Instagram and TikTok. But now everything's escalated to a whole new level.
Yeah,
so
they raided his house.
We found out that they raided his whole his two houses.
Yeah, he sold everything pretty much.
I think it was actually the Department of Homeland Security. Let's take a look. So here's a little footage right here.
Way through one of these side gates, and as soon as they got inside the home, one of the first things they did was made their way into this garage that you see is open right there. Now, they did take a couple of people into custody. We witnessed that. Now, are they under arrest? Are they just being asked about what they know? That I can't answer, but I can tell you there's 3 people right there that were taken into custody, were inside that home at the time.
Now, I believe like couple of his sons were arrested as well. But yeah, so this says rumors are circulating of Sean Diddy Combs' involvement in a mass Hollywood pedophile ring after Homeland Security just raided his Los Angeles homes in connection to their federal sex trafficking investigation. Now that you would think FBI. So what do you think it is that Homeland Security is involved? Does that mean that there is like international trafficking going on.
Could be.
Probably.
Because he did. Did you guys see how like people were tracking his private jet?
Yeah.
You saw that? Yeah. Like that was interesting too.
In, like the Cayman Islands.
But
one of those islands.
Isn't that weird?
But
how,
FBI. I'm sorry.
So I'm just gonna say, isn't it weird how all these prophets and just the things that they said this year's the year of exposure.
Yeah.
Things are gonna be exposed.
Yeah. Speaking of that, remember this guy? This prophet, this prophet, this prophet went viral at the beginning of at the end of last year.
I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. T.G. Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way know why they take it the wrong way.
This was last year.
Yeah.
He predicted this.
No, this was the beginning of this year.
Was it?
January.
Yeah.
January.
This was January?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was the end of last year. No? This interview?
No, I don't think it was.
January 6th, I think.
Okay, so right at the beginning of the year.
The anniversary.
No, but he filmed it. You're right. He filmed it last year.
Right. And then it posted up in the beginning of 2024. But he predicted it, man.
Yeah.
He predicted, and he called out Puffy by name. He talked about these sexual deviants.
He was the only one that saw it. Well, Monique did it too, but he called out like everybody in this.
Yeah, but there was people. Of course, people are posting all the clips of 50 Cent calling out Puffy for years, saying that he's into weird stuff. He's a weirdo. There was other people. He actually talked about Jay-Z too. It was a funny clip of 50 Cent clowning Jay-Z's new hairstyle. he said he's trying to look like a gay painter. He's talking about Basquiat. He's saying Jay-Z's trying to look like Basquiat. But yeah, so what's his name? Cat Williams talked about that, and then people were showing. Pull this up real quick, Mom.
So Homeland Security was involved in the P. Diddy thing.
Yes.
Homeland Security wasn't even the whole Epstein thing was international too, but it was just the FBI that raided his house in New York, right? For
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
No, but that was for cases in Florida, so it wasn't.
So it wasn't.
They had nothing.
Trafficking.
He was never prosecuted for anything that had to do with his island.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah. No. Like it would. They did go to his island. Remember, they did. Mm-hmm. But I think that was all in connection with the Florida case, because that's what he ended up being in prison for, all the Florida stuff.
Yeah, he was sentenced for that.
The New York stuff.
And it was a modified. His first sentence was a modified.
His first sentence was like a sweetheart deal.
Yeah, it was like he could leave the jail and go work and come back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so pull this up, Mom. So people were showing, like right after the FBI raid, people started. The internet is crazy now. They could track jets. They knew his private jet number, and they were showing it all over Twitter that his private jet had left L.A. and was headed on a route to what they thought was going to be Cape Verde, because Cape Verde doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S. But it ended up landing in Antigua. Or Antigua, I don't know how you pronounce it. But and then people were saying, but his children were there. Why would he leave his children? He must not be on that plane. Blah blah blah. But then, footage surfaced of him at the Miami airport. Apparently, he got pulled from that flight right before it left. So he was trying to leave the country, and this is him at the airport.
So he got.
I guess you wonder what's going to happen next, Diddy. I know.
I think right here he's waiting to be questioned or whatever. But yeah, he was spotted at the Miami airport He got pulled from that flight before it left.
Oh, okay.
So apparently he was trying to leave the country, and he left his kids there and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a crazy story. It's escalating. Do you guys think that they're gonna try to pin everything? Because remember, the lawsuit implicates label executives. We talked about Lucian Grange, all of that stuff. Do you think this is a way to like? Because even with the Epstein case, it was like Epstein was the fall guy. They tried to make it. It was Epstein and Ghislaine, and that's it. But we know there were so many other people connected to this case that we still don't know about. We don't know about the client. They're not releasing the client list.
And it never will.
They never will. We don't know how he got his billions of dollars. No one can attest for how he got that property in New York for nothing. You know. So do you think
Supposedly
this?
art,
Do you
right?
think this is the same? Because we were calling him the Black Epstein.
Yeah.
He was setting people up with these honeypot situations, but in the music industry to be filmed and used as a blackmail, sexual blackmail ring.
It's
But
possible.
there's got to be other people. Well, we know there's other people that gave him his career, funded him.
Yeah.
Clive Owen.
Clive Davis. Yeah.
Davis. Wrong person.
He, Diddy seemed like he's a talker though.
You think he telling on
Meaning
everybody?
He is snitch.
Well, he better be careful though, because you know how they do in them prisons. You see what
Well-
they did to Jeffrey.
Well, they said the one of the guys, I can't remember his name, but he brought up charges on him too. He filed a suit against him. He said that he has cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much doing the same thing. Like, even though he's a part of this, he's collecting evidence and blackmail
Footage.
too.
Yeah.
So-
That's what we talked about last time, was all of the cameras and the fact that one of the executives of Universal,
Yeah.
Lucian Grange, was one of the people that we think he has blackmail footage on, because he used to go into his bedroom. This is what the court case is alleging. He used to go into the bedroom with him for hours, and then
Yeah. And this is a long time, especially things like this, where it's a sexual nature, is to get people to be compromised, so then they'll be pliable because you have something on them, especially if they're married or they portray themselves as a certain way.
Yeah.
If you can coerce them or get them drunk or high. That's why these parties are always like that. They're always like in excess.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they show it to the public is, the Hamptons, the white party, the this, but behind closed doors, there's always something else going on. And the people who attend those things, which is why, like I said, allegedly, TD Jakes was implemented, because if this
you're
is
frequenting those
if you're
parties,
frequenting those parties,
there's a certain thing going on there. Yeah.
and let's be honest, Exhibit, 50 Cent, there's been a lot of people who have said he's done.
Yeah.
His parties are a certain way, and then the footage of him, the way he's talking to dudes, and he's the way he's behaving.
Yeah.
And he's doing this in front of people, so imagine what's behind closed doors.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing is, we know that the industry has an agenda to create a certain mindset and culture and environment. So how easy is it for you to garner that control over other artists if you can blackmail them, if you can put them in a compromised position, even if it's with underage girls, or if Candace Owens actually pointed out that in the hip hop community, being gay is really frowned upon, especially if you're supposed to be like some kind of gangster rapper. So if you can be filmed in one of those compromising positions, it could ruin your entire career. So that's just a way to keep control over somebody by having that footage on them, because I know Meek Mills was mentioned in the lawsuits, but his name was redacted, but everybody could put two and two together, because it said a Philadelphia rapper who was in a relationship with Nicki Minaj. So
Called Schmeek Dills.
yeah, no one could put that together.
And Andrew Schultz just put him in one of his stand-up.
I saw that. It was funny. I don't remember the joke, but it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of layers to this. I definitely think that this is a time things are being exposed. I think Candace Owens, she's been doing a hell of a job of really like blowing the whistle on a lot of these things. Well, not blowing the whistle because other people are blowing the whistle, but she's like drawing attention to it. She's making it a point to do a whole deep dive on her show about this case and about what it means.
Right.
But I think she needs to watch out too, because where she's taking it, and I think this is part of why she's parted ways with Daily Wire, is because where she's taking it is uncovering. But who's behind this?
Right.
Well,
I was gonna say, what I do give her a lot of credit for is that she's not a journalist by her profession.
Yeah.
But what she is doing, and you got to give her credit for this, is when she dives in, she really dives in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is really, because the thing is, we've heard Ben Shapiro read rap lyrics. He talked about the denigration of the black community, hip hop, how it's just trash. But as soon as you say, great, now let's get into who owns the label.
Right.
That's where he's like, he wants to run away.
Yep.
And she's doing that. She's saying, who owns these labels?
Right. Who's making it? Who's trying to sell us that? And she said this on the Breakfast Club interview, which, we're going to talk about a little bit later too. But she said, who are the ones that are trying to tell us that this is black culture, that Ice Spice and Sexy Red are black culture?
And she's friends with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And it's a psyop. It's all it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Do you really believe that Ice Spice and Taylor Swift are friends?
Right.
Or this is just part of the plan? Mm-hmm. It's all theater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's being pushed to us.
Yeah. I think one thing that we have to be careful with is getting caught up in just talking about it. Like, where people just talk about what happened. Oh, did you hear what happened?
Yeah.
But
That's gossip.
yeah. But I mean, obviously we got to talk about these things, right? Mm-hmm. So not in that sense, but I mean, like, if it just is talk, because what happens is once things get exposed, well, then you got a little bit of a responsibility to deal with those things, right? Like, well, how did we get here? How did it go this far?
Yeah.
How did we allow this to happen?
What did we miss?
What
part did we play in this path that led us to this point?
Yeah.
Which is something we talk about on here often. The things
Being
that we were blind to as young men that
Yeah.
led
Because
to where it is now.
people can get like angry, and not to say we can't be angry, but I'm saying like you can be angry and you can look at it and you want people to die over it. You want people,
Right.
you can take it too far when it's really like, yeah, you hold them accountable, but and they've done some heinous stuff. But at the same time, like, we all have done stuff in our lives to the point where we got to take responsibility for our lives
Right.
and for the lives of others.
Well,
right?
the responsibility I think you need to take for your life is not consuming it. You know what I mean? Like,
No, but I mean, even in terms of like what's going on to make sure that these things don't happen to other people, right?
Right.
These things don't happen to children.
yeah.
Like that what's been happening, we're seeing how many children are being affected by these things.
Yeah. We talked about the Nickelodeon, the Quiet on Set documentary.
Yeah. When these things happen, you look, it's the most vulnerable that are affected. It's the poor, right? It's the uneducated.
Yeah.
It's the children. These are the people that are the most affected by these things right away.
Yeah.
Because why? They have no guards against it. So that's why we're supposed, like, biblically, we're supposed to look out for the poor, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to look out for those who can't look out for themselves. We're supposed to, what does he say? The only religion is to help the fatherless, right?
Yeah.
The orphans and the widows, right? Because in that time, if you were widowed, you would be struggling. So I'm just saying, like, just to bring like another side to where we can't just get caught up in talking about it and being angry and just leaving it there. And we got to understand that, okay, now what? Are we going to take responsibility?
Yeah.
Are we going to look at these things and say, where did we go wrong as a community,
Yeah.
as a people, as Americans?
Right. But I think the point of talking about it is to show that there's something wrong. Because if you think that it's just all good, like there's nothing wrong with the type of music we like, there's nothing wrong with, being a fan of Ice Spice or then there's nothing to talk about after,
absolutely.
So what do we do? Like, but I know we say it all the time. It starts with our home, right?
Yeah.
You draw attention. You make a point of talking to your kids about why this stuff isn't good. You make it. It's like the same thing. What do you do when all your kids' friends want to eat is McDonald's every day? You have to, like, they're gonna go through that phase where they're gonna want McDonald's, but you have to do a job of like talking to them and showing them why it's not good for you, why it's not healthy.
And you also have to do a job of caring for people outside of your family.
Yeah.
Like kids that you come in contact with, people who are that you can touch or touch in the right way, not in the wrong way.
Watch what you're saying.
Not
there.
P Diddly. Not P Diddly.
But I mean, touch in their hearts, right? In their
but
minds.
those are people that you have to already have a relationship and connection with. Like, you're not going to be able to touch kids that just randomly you meet out in the street. You know what I mean? It has to be people within your purview.
Right. But that's the problem. Like, we don't even know our neighbors anymore.
Yeah,
that's my point. Like,
right. We don't have community anymore.
No, and that's the issue is that we become so isolated, right? And that makes us weaker.
But I think that's by design as well. So it's important. Again, like, you don't realize you're being isolated if there ain't voices out there telling the masses, like, listen, this is what they're doing. This is the agenda.
Yeah.
And you have to have people like a Candace Owens who is willing to be like, there's something up with this. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But there's something up with this, and we can't just blindly just follow this anymore. Yeah. And the big reason why we're talking about this Diddy case is because there's been something up with this for decades. Yeah. The Babylon Bee had a funny tweet about it, right along those lines. You could pull it up, Mom. It says, the nation's starting to wonder if Diddy may have done a few of those things he repeatedly rapped about doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Young Thug case, the RICO case that he's fighting. Like, everyone is going back and forth about, it's like, this guy's been rapping about this for years.
Right. And I think, what we're doing here is we're talking about political, cultural, social things, but this is the first time where, because of social media, because of podcasting, regular people are allowed to make the connection of plants in the industry, psyops, and tie them together. Yeah. Where if you say back in the day, you said something about like we had that conversation at Stan's house years ago when we would Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, yeah.
Right? And it got contentious. I mean, we handled it right, but it was heated because you're talking about the love of an artist, someone's favorite artist, and it's hard for people to see that because they'll immediately push you in the side of you're a hater. Yeah, you just hate him.
Yep.
And the conversations we're having is not to put down people per se, it's to show people that there's a system, and the system is certain things are propped up, certain things are not just by chance. Now, there could be a lot of it that is a natural friendship, but certain things are put together to give you an illusion and to make you believe that something is organic, and it's not.
Right.
So someone like a P. Diddy, right, who at 24 years old got access to these big artists, but who is he tied to?
Who gave him that
Who
money?
gave him that power? Yeah. So we wouldn't have had access to this back in those times because the media was very, very controlled.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of freedom in information, and people have access to certain things that we would have never had. So we couldn't, there's no way somebody back in the day, unless they're in the industry, would know, well, he's tied to this person, that person's tied to this. This is all relatively new information. And so people are putting these and drawing these parallels and showing you, hey, is he talented? We're now finding out that he really didn't produce a lot of the song. He's listed as a producer,
right,
but he didn't. So there's a sense of worship that we have to these people that aren't really what their titles are. They could just be a go-between. They could just be a handler of some sort. And
it's funny. One of the guys, there's a clip that I have for later on, but he said something. I was talking to Mom about this earlier. It was a quote. He said, dude, it just, like, to me, it hit me so hard because in America, I think we do this. We focus on talent, right? We focus on talent more than anything.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, if you build your confidence on talent, you become arrogant. If you build your confidence on discipline and not on talent, it's gonna sustain you.
Right.
And how many people you see, like, take sports, like how many people in sports, like, they're just good. They're just
naturally gifted, yeah.
Right. They're talented, right? But once they get to a point where there's other people that are just as good, now it's more of a mental thing.
Right.
Right? It's more of a mental state or a mindset that you have to be in. And think about how many artists go crazy. Think about how many artists go crazy because they can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because what are they being put through? What are they going through? Right? And then in their mind, well, if I just do this one thing, it'll be all right. Even in terms of, like, I'm not talking about anything crazy. It could be something crazy. But even in terms of how, like, we dealt with a lot of music execs, right?
Yeah.
That we would have meetings with and labels, and they'd be like, the idea was like, well, you just do what we want you to do, and then you can do whatever you want.
Right.
But you're going to have to settle for the way we want you to be at first.
Right.
Right?
That's the idea. Get in the door by doing what you're told, and then you'll have the freedom to do what you want later.
Right.
Yeah.
But so if you take that in, you know, now it's really just about the look and the awe of the thing. It's about the shiny thing.
Yeah.
You know? And the thing that really hits me with that is that the world is always looking at talent and they're saying, oh, you're so good. Oh, man, you're really good. You're really good. That is building you up on the outside, you know? And for me, I see it always related to soccer, but I remember, like, when I first started with my kids, like, when they're young, and you could see the kids that were naturally good, right? But I can tell, like, their attitudes suck, right? They're not going to go far, especially even the parenting. I could see.
Right. Or they don't have discipline.
They don't. Yeah, and they're already arrogant at that age, right? And then I see other kids like, oh, they really want it. They're going to continue their discipline, their work. I see them working at home, right? They don't look much now. Like, a regular person would not even look at them. Right? A regular person don't know, they're just not even that's not even in their purview. Not paying attention at all. But eventually, like, you give them like 4 years, they're going to be killing it. Because of the discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's so much more important. And that becomes an internal thing. Right? It's like people who are truly masters of something and people who become disciples of those masters, you have to receive that and get it into you as a discipline internally to actually receive what they have and become a master.
Right.
It's an internal structure. You know what I'm saying? It's you're building yourself up. So everybody looks at the external structure, but it's really what's inside that's important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for so long, we've been looking on the outside. You look at Obama, right? You look at how they've tricked and manipulated us as people, right? Especially as urban people, I'll just say, because it's not just black people, right? In hip hop, all this, you see how they manipulate you. Why do most black people vote Democrat, right? That's changing now.
Yeah.
Because the facade is starting to fall away.
Right.
The facade is that outward exterior. It's the thing. That's a reinforcement, but it's not, it's shallow, right? It's very shallow.
Yeah.
But when you build an internal dialogue, and that's why we need fathers, by the way, right?
Yeah.
What did they do? They took away the fathers. Now we got them voting Democrat, right? And Johnson said that, right?
Well, have them voting Democrat for 200 years.
So,
specifically hard R N-words.
Right. Because you're taking away the fathers that speak into their lives and challenge them and make them face their fears so that they can gain true structure in their life. You know what I mean?
You said something about internal dialogue, right? And that's something that kind of started to trend a little bit on Twitter or on TikTok because there's a bunch of people who were posting videos saying how they never had an internal dialogue, like they don't have any internal thoughts, and they were feeling like, am I weird? You know what I mean?
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I've heard that too. But speaking of why are we talking about this, I think sometimes the way society is structured now, it's especially in this America, right? Because we are the ones that set everything. Everyone follows us.
Yeah.
We are the larger dominant culture. Part of it is just to go to school, watch sports, get a good job, material things, live your life, rinse, repeat, right?
Yeah.
The internal dialogue that you're talking about, it's coming. It sometimes could be sparked by a conversation or something you hear, and you're like, wait, I never thought of that. That's unique to me. Like, think about it. We're talking about P. Diddy. Let's go back there for a second. When he was introduced to us, a lot of the shots that I saw was him at a mixing board.
Yeah.
We never saw him play an instrument.
No.
We've never seen him do anything. But the illusion of him just being there in the studio,
right.
We think he's there. It's like me being with a chef hat,
right?
At a restaurant. I'm not a chef,
right?
But if I put it on and I'm there, and people shoot me doing that.
Well, this is the thing with the music business that I'll tell you, like one of the inside baseball things. There is guys that they're kind of like the Steve Jobs, right? Where it's like, Steve Jobs didn't create. He didn't build anything.
He had ideas,
but he had ideas,
right?
He had the mind, right? So a Diddy or like a who's another example of this? Even a Clive Davis, for example, or like Jermaine Dupri. These guys, they would figure themselves as tastemakers. I have great taste in music, so I know when I hear a hit.
Yeah.
So I'll be in the studio and I'll be like, nah, that ain't it. Do that again. Nah, that ain't it. Nah, it needs a little bit more. Like we need and then by that, now I'm a producer.
Right.
That's how the music industry works.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, that,
right?
Because you're around that. But the average public, we think
he's in there.
He's in there working it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or just look at how, like, you think you have somebody who can sing, right? And you know how many people will act like they're playing piano? Like, literally, there was just a song that was out not too long ago, and the dude never played the actual song.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. But he was actually a piano player.
Right, but he couldn't play that. Right? He couldn't play it.
He couldn't play it and sing it at the same time. Yeah.
And I get it.
Right. But it's not easy to do all the time. Especially if it's a very complex thing and you're singing, which it was.
But then you're faking it.
He would fake it like he's
Why are
playing
you
it
faking
live.
it?
Yeah.
Because it's about the look.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. So that's all I was going to say about the internal voice, right? They have mastered, like, all right, so you can't do this, but they have mastered, all right, let's package it like this.
Yeah.
So that way the people think that you could do it.
Yeah.
And the internal voice thing, or what you were saying, is it's like, remember I told you guys years ago, speaking in tongues?
Yeah.
All right. It's like, I believe in that. But at that moment, I felt like they wanted it more than I wanted it. You know what I mean?
But why do they want it? Because they have to show everyone else that they brought it out of you.
Right.
Because then it adds to the whole experience of the thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's what I'm saying. It's like, when I prayed about it and I talked to Dad about it, he was like, no. He was like, it wasn't the right time for you.
Yeah.
But when it comes, you'll know. But for me, I felt like maybe
I'm not good. I'm broken. Yeah. They couldn't get at me.
Right. Because sometimes that, those things happen.
Yeah. But look at that. That's an internal dialogue, right? And that's even like, think about it. Like what sanctifies us? What sanctifies us, Mom?
The Holy Spirit.
The truth.
The truth.
You're right, because he is the Spirit of truth, right? So what sanctifies us is the truth. What does that mean? It cleanses us, right?
Yeah.
Sanctifies us, cleanses us, or sets us apart, right? Or you could say it fortifies us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What then if the truth sanctifies us, then what defiles us? Exactly, lies. So like James is saying, like the thoughts come into his head and he's thinking, well, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe.
Right.
See, these are the things that who you talk to your dad reinforces and brings confidence to you, right? To set you, right? That's how you deal with lies.
Yeah, that's how
right?
it works. Yeah.
And then you start to gain an internal structure. But you need to trust somebody, right? And in that trust, you grow in it, you grow in it, you grow in it. You become like your Father, right? So Jesus came that he is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me.
Right.
Right? So he's literally the structure. He's the image. He was the temple, right? So we're looking towards him to actually understand and comprehend the Father, right? And then receive the Father. He wants to input in us what he has.
Yeah.
Right? Even that's what it says in like John 16, where Jesus says, I'm going away. He says, I'm sending you the Spirit of truth, right? And he says, he's gonna lead you and guide you in all truth. And he says, everything that I have, he's gonna give to you. See what I mean? So what does that mean? That means everything that he has, what did he say? Oh, the devil, this ruler of this world, he has nothing in me.
Right.
What does that mean? He has no lies in me. He has, because if he has something in me, he can control me. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a slave, but he's no slave. He was never a slave, right? But we're slaves. Why? Because we've accepted lies in our life.
Right.
So we got to be set free from those lies.
That's right. He's not a slave. He's a king. Can't say that no more, though.
I saw the smirk and I knew you were about to say something smart.
So, Mom, pull this article up because I want to just show this just in line with the inner monologue thing. So, only 30 to 50% of people have an internal monologue. Is it really possible for people not to have an internal monologue? And this article goes into talking about how a lot of people never have this internal voice. Or and there's some people on TikTok that were they were talking about it like, I've never had this. What? Like they're just discovering it for the first time. So then like the NPC narrative starts going crazy. Like there's real NPCs out there, people that can't have internal monologues. There was a girl, I saw a video of her talking about like, if you tell me to like, I didn't understand that other people could do this, but if someone says like, visualize a banana, I can't physically visualize it in my mind. Like I can think banana, but I can't visualize it. It's like, what? Like,
to me though, that's you're thinking too hard. That's you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're trying to do something and I can't do it. I think we get in our own ways.
Yeah.
Or our own way. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that.
Is envisioning a banana in your head an internal monologue though?
Well,
isn't it like it's something as simple as, you're thinking about what to make for dinner?
Yeah.
Isn't that like internal monologue?
Some
like,
people are claiming they don't do that.
What?
Yeah.
That's impossible.
It's not impossible. You know why? Because especially in privileged households, if everything's done for you, then you don't got to think about anything. And if nobody is challenging you and you're never put in challenging situations, you don't even realize you're doing this. And I think they are having internal dialogue, but the thing is they don't pay attention to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they've never been challenged to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So it's like more of a fleeting thing to them
Yeah.
that they don't actually acknowledge. Yeah, like this article describes it as like, it says, for example, while writing an article at many different points, I thought, okay, now I have to put this section here and this section there. This is all in my head. And I do that a lot when I'm like editing music or like producing. I'm always thinking like, all right, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that,
It could be a personality thing. Don't you think sometimes some people just don't.
They're not built that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not.
Like even talking to yourself, like, you talk to yourself? I'm like, yeah, I talk to myself. And I'm like,
I talk to myself all the time.
yeah, it's like
Right. Sometimes out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk to
Sometimes
myself.
I'll say things out loud, like,
And
all
it's
right, let me-
really it's just you're just practicing.
yeah,
You're just
yeah, yep, yeah.
I go through whole speeches in my head, like I'm talking to somebody.
But
Like,
people feel
I do.
weird about
Right.
that. They feel weird for some reason.
Yeah,
Are you talking to yourself? And like, no.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you want?
Because it's tied to some sort of psychosis or like
you're
this
crazy.
is
You're
what serial
weird.
killers do or people with schizophrenia.
Lawyers do it all the time when they're getting ready to litigate a case.
Yeah.
They literally
Recite it
the whole time
in your head. I do it
Yeah.
a lot too. Like I told y'all before we went on stage, like I was thinking about, all right, how am I gonna set this up? You know, like you think about these things.
But
And
again, I just said discipline
Yeah.
causes you to build internal structures.
Right.
That doesn't mean that those internal structures are always good.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's the other end. Like, what are you disciplining yourself in? What are you a disciple of?
Right.
So even that is key. Like, you got to know what if you give yourself over to the wrong master, you know, you're gonna build some pretty bad structures in your life. You know.
Shout out to Michael Hansberry. He said, "What's up, fellas?" And then Emma, our boy Emma's on there. He said, "Hello,
What
guys."
up?
Courtney said, "I talk in my head." We know you do.
Dang.
But let's go to this clip from Candace Owens on the Breakfast Club. So for the
It was
longest
actually
time,
peaceful. It was actually a peaceful.
it really was. It was actually a really great interview.
They didn't bring on that one girl.
Chick ain't come at her.
If she was on there, it would have been a whole.
Jessa Laris is a comedian, so she's
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah,
she had nothing
but
for
no,
me.
she seemed like she really was interested in Candace's perspective.
Well, she.
No.
You remember just got canceled with the trans.
I remember because she said something about they're not women.
I seen the comedian girl, but I was talking about
The rude one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
light-skinned-
They didn't bring
light-skinned
her
chick.
on.
Hilarious.
Comes in with the bad technology,
Yeah.
the bad.
Sir,
live stream.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Sir.
Sir.
Yeah. she was trying to cuss out Larry Elder. You know she would have came for Candace. But no, it was actually
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
yeah. But I
you
think
it has a little bit to do with people waking up to.
I think so.
Maybe.
I think things that she was saying before they weren't ready to hear.
Yeah, and she was really trolling hard when she initially started.
Yeah.
She's mellowed out a lot, and she's doing more. I think a more deeper dive in journalism.
Yeah.
and people are seeing that she's not attacking Cardi B.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think she because she talked about the revolt stage where she said I said the same things I'm saying now, but it became kind of contentious because T.I. was there.
Let's watch it.
Yeah. Okay. We will. We will.
I'm just saying it's on there.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to it, but I just want to make the point that I think it's interesting that black outlets are starting to want to talk to her now. Because before she was persona non grata in the black, all the black pot. First she went on Joe Budden. Now she's on Breakfast Club. I think she's slated to do another interview with one of the black shows. But yeah, like they're
She was on Fresh and Fit.
she was on Fresh and Fit. Yeah. But yeah, it seems like they're open to hearing from her now. Even though they're still, I see a bunch of people on Twitter going in like, she said that black men aren't on her IQ level. Because remember the whole conversation about why she married a white man? Part of the
the one thing I wish she had done,
yeah,
specifically her, because that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
About her white husband. I would, if I was her, I would say, well, great. Well, Don Lemon has a white husband. Why don't we ask him?
Yeah, how come you don't ask him about that?
Kamala
Harris has a white husband. Ketanji Brown Jackson
Des Brown has a white husband.
has a white husband.
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, Ilhan Omar.
AOC. You would ask them to this.
Dang.
But y'all want to ask. And then the most cringy part of the interview to me was when they did the black quiz on her.
You know they had to do that because they're trying to prove a point.
But it's just like, is this the measure of, like, they did the Good Times lyrics, they did...
Listen, as bad as it was, it would never be bad as Hillary Clinton and hot sauce.
Yeah. I seen the video. I don't know if it went viral, but I saw it. Somebody talking about... I think the comedian said, God is good.
Yeah, that was part of the quiz. She was like, finish this phrase, God is good.
Amen.
And then she was like,
but
she was like,
she
what?
knows.
Amen? I don't know. Like, what are you
She
saying?
doesn't want to play along with it. She knows.
Yeah, it was funny. But all right, let's get into the clips that you gave us here.
People were just living better under Trump, and he is, in my opinion, a better president because at least he's telling you the truth and he's telling you what he actually thinks. One of the things that I hated the most about him when he first came on the escalator, I was like, oh, he's way too brash. Obama sounds way more polite. But I asked the question, do you want to be politely lied to or have somebody that's at least telling you what they think about you in no uncertain terms? So I like Trump for a ton of reasons. And for me, it was always about the economic argument. And I knew that he was going to be a better candidate for Black Americans because of that, especially, build the wall sounded so wild, right? Back in 2016, it sounded wild. It sounded xenophobic. And I was saying, if these illegals get into the inner city communities, the first people that are going to be harmed are going to be Black Americans.
People actually were mad at you, right? When you got into the conversation with T.I. at the Revolt Music Conference, right? And you were saying that, and people didn't understand it, but it seems like people are understanding.
He's saying people, he mean himself.
Yeah.
He mean himself.
Yeah, he got embroiled in the real estate scandal
Yeah,
and
right.
legals.
Right. Yeah, he's saying people, but they was all coming for her when she was talking about this during the Revolt Summit.
Right.
Everybody took T.I. side. Because you're talking some bullshit. That was his whole argument.
What you were trying to say back then.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to have those moments because, I think T.I. is a trash person. I'll say that 1,000 times over because, first and foremost, I had spoken to T.I. prior to that event. Like, T.I. was the only person on stage that I actually knew. And for the same reasons I met you. Kanye had put us in touch. We had talked. And I know that T.I. thinks more conservatively. So he was literally putting on a show. And so it just makes me wonder, especially with all the stuff that, came out in the Diddy lawsuit, who's controlling T.I.? Because that was wild. He was literally putting on a show he didn't know me on stage. He was surprised I was saying this stuff.
In the Diddy lawsuit.
That's what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying. So she's going even deeper, the next level than most people do, because they'll just say, oh, he's a trash person. He's just being fake. But it's like, no, why is he doing that? What is his mission? Who are the ones that are trying to perpetuate a certain idea and using these people as puppets,
He was way more level-headed and rational when we were on the phone. And I still look back on the moment, I'm like, what was he doing? It was like a circus act up there. And he was doing something that I thought was harmful because we were actually having a great discussion. And yet he created a little moment, and that was all the media ran with. Despite the fact we were on that stage for hours, they ran with that moment. And I was really upset about it. But you're right. I was talking a lot about legal immigration and saying it's something that we need to pay attention to. Because eventually the black vote's not going to matter. Something that they worked so hard for is not going to matter. They get enough illegals in. What are we at? 10 million under Biden? And they're doing it intentionally. It's going to be the same thing that they did to Black Americans in the 60s. What Lyndon Baines Johnson did when he established welfareism and the Great Society Act. They want to get these people in, offer them handouts, and turn them into economic slaves that will continue to vote for Democrats because they're getting free handouts. And it's incredibly racist, first and foremost. But because Black Americans a lot of Black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he wasn't an avowed racist. He hated Black people. One of the so many times, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. JFK had just died, and there were riots in the streets protesting because of racism, and he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfareism and, programs to incentivize not marrying Black men. To think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of Black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to check to make sure if you want this check, dad can't be home. Every other ill that Black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I am like a big, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything that is so harmful, this, Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap. It's anti-man, and it's anti-man for a reason, because a society cannot survive without strong men. A household cannot survive without strong men. We need strong men to lead homes. And so the fracturing of the Black family, I think, was the test. We were the mice in the experiment. Let's see how that goes. And now they're kind of doing that writ large. And I hate feminism so much. I can't even tell you, because what it's about is it's just an attack on men.
I hate feminism.
There's so much in that.
Yeah. I remember watching that from the interview, and I was like, man, I'm glad they let her get all of that out.
Right.
Because the audience that listens to that show needs to hear that. They need to hear that.
Yep.
Because a lot of the Gen Z generation that's going to listen to that has already kind of leaned more conservative, this is just going to be more stuff for them to feed off of, to be like, wow, I never knew that. Wow, I never knew that. There was even a point in the interview, I don't know if you have that clip here, but where she talked about Hollywood and how the CIA, the Pentagon has a fund for movies and TV. They were all like,
I just put a vein of thought in there.
But the fact that she was able to say that, and all of them were like, wow, I never knew that. And then they looked it up and saw, oh yeah, she's right. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that we need. That type of stuff getting out there where people can realize, wow, they are because Black people are already skeptical about the government and police and authority and everything. So if you can show them but this is the part where you missed it.
But at the same time, they still getting the handouts.
Right. They're going to take them.
They're going to complain, but take them. That's my point. You got to see, where's our money going? Where's our tax money going? And she talked about a lot of that stuff.
She did.
And I think that's really important, especially in terms of, I said, we give up our responsibility.
Yeah.
What happens? We give up our power.
Well, I think that was part of the interview too, where Charlamagne said a lot of Black people liked it better under Trump because he gave them money. He gave them free money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she addressed that in the interview as well. Like,
Yeah.
You know, because I think that was one of the worst things that he did under his presidency.
Yeah, the COVID, the whole COVID to me wasn't a strong point for him.
No, for sure.
I thought that was his weak point.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
Not here like ride or die for Republicans. They all sell us out. Like the stuff that they did during COVID is criminal. It's criminal. And
Who was found on that?
Like, I mean, just the free handouts. First off, trillions of dollars you're signing
exactly
these omnibus bills. If you read into it, where that money is going, it's insane. It's literally going, to museums, boards of museums. They're quite literally money laundering is what's happening when they sign these bills. But they keep it so that the information level is so low for Americans that it's like, oh, COVID's so bad. Like, we're going to give you a check that's like, $300.
We talked about this when they passed that omnibus bill, and we talked about how like there was $100 million going to like Afghanistan for like women's studies or some ridiculous stuff like that. It's like, yo, you know what we could do with that money?
Yeah. The last bill they just passed, it was like a huge amount of money going to Egyptian college graduates
What?
in Egypt. Yeah.
Wait, you talking about this bill they just passed?
Yeah.
Like a couple days ago?
Yeah.
The $2 trillion bill?
Yes. Like, dude, the most outlandish stuff. Like, what is going on here?
Because you don't think that is money that's really being used to push some type of agenda in the Middle East?
Yep. It's being funneled in a way, but they're saying this is what it's for.
Right.
And that's what she's saying. It's money laundering.
Right.
Describes welfareism, right? Like, despite the fact that there's been trillions of dollars since the establishment of welfare, Black Americans are poorer today than we were before it. People don't know this, but during the time of Jim Crow, before welfare was established in the 1950s, Black Americans were actually outpacing white Americans in this country in terms of economic growth. And the reason for that was because our families were together. We had good values. The government only wants to give you the bare minimum. Well, where's the rest of the money? Where is it going? They sign these bills making you think that this money is going to you. It's not. They're stealing from the American people. And you look at your congressman, whoever it is that you guys sent down to DC, and you realize that they're all just puppets. I feel like we're watching a performance, and who can say the most outrageous thing. The Republicans don't want to sign this because they want, slavery and they want you back in change. Or the Democrats don't want to sign this because they want grandma to die. Whatever it is, you're watching just... to me, it's a play.
That's why I don't think. That's why I think if you're black, you shouldn't be beholden to any political party, Democrat or Republican.
Right. I mean, I think that any concept of saying that I am a Republican forever, a Democrat forever, is a nonsense. You should always look at the candidates that are running, and any person that is running saying that they want to grow government is your enemy.
Why do you think people give you a lot of backlash for questioning people and having questions? I see all the time with Charlemagne. If we question something that Kamala Harris did, or question something that Joe Biden did, or question somebody that's Democrat did, why do you think our people have so much backlash when you ask so many questions?
Well, because I think that they don't realize that they've been manipulated against their own interests, and a lot of it is, when you start telling the truth, you become a problem to the establishment, right? So if you're the military-industrial complex and you want people to just kind of sleepwalk into another war, and I'm sitting here telling you that, Pentagon just can't keep finding the trillions of dollars that they send overseas. They got this budget and they're sending all this money to Ukraine, and then they say, oh, we don't know where all the money went. It's being laundered and it's being sent back to a very small group of powerful people.
You're going to jail, and so when you pay your taxes.
That's right. But they could just send money. We showed that on here when they lost. What was it, like $5 billion? They was just unaccounted.
Do you know how many different departments lose money every day?
They get audited, and there's trillions of dollars they just can't find.
Yeah, but yet we're supposed to be responsible
right.
And we're supposed to be giving you our money,
right?
Come on.
Yeah,
but we put these people in office.
But that's the thing, it's like it's not their money, it's our money that they're losing.
Right. Exactly.
Have someone like me who's cutting through all of the emotional arguments, you have to turn that person into persona non grata, right? And what better way to do it than to have their own community attacking them and saying that they're, pro-white or anti-black. I mean, it's a nonsense things that they say about me. If you listen to what I'm actually saying, I'm sitting here providing a blueprint for Black Americans to get ahead, because it's time, okay? It's time. We've been doing this for a very long time in this country. Black America, wake up, okay? They don't like you. They don't like us, okay? There's not America has
America.
Yeah, like the government, the American government. Why would you think the American government wants to help you? Well, at what point in history has that proven to be right? And I'll challenge that, and I'll make it wider to all Americans. When has it ever been the circumstance that you felt the government really just was out for your own best interests? Think of them as a corporation. They want to grow themselves. They want new departments, bigger departments, larger budgets, like any other corporation would want. And they never want to leave DC because we don't have term limits, which we should have, right? If we had term limits and said you can only serve for 4 years, well, then guess what they would be doing for those 4 years? Trying to shrink government, because they'd have to come back out and be us, right? When you look at the way that your tax dollars are being spent, you should be outraged. You should be angry. But stop thinking that the enemy is, they constantly have us arguing against each other, women versus men, black versus white, it's a nonsense. The reason why they want us constantly warring is because it distracts from all of us coming together and taking a look at who the real criminals are. And the real criminals are this small group, this small cadre of powerful people that I think we're virtually all still on a plantation. They just made it look nice. You know, you got a nice chair. We got nice chairs here. But I think we're all still on a plantation. A lot of the mom and
on a plantation.
pop stores closed, right? A lot of businesses actually had to fold because they couldn't sustain it under the economic environment. They just couldn't thrive. People literally, employees did not want to go to work. It was crazy. And so what ends up happening is the individuals get weaker and the corporations got bigger, right? Only the corporations could have survived in that environment, which is what unfortunately ended up happening. And then we put our own selves on the hook to be taxed into oblivion, to keep paying into this ridiculous thing that we agreed to pay into. It would have been much better for us to instead say, I'm happy to work. I don't want your small check. I want you to stop taking tax dollars from me. You know, shrink government, don't make it bigger. That always has to be the economic narrative. If you want to make government bigger, you are taking from me. Government does not make money. We make money, right? Government can only take money. So when you're advocating for more government solutions, you are literally advocating for the government to come into your check and take more money.
How many people are thinking like that?
Not many. So, but I think, again, it's by design. Most people don't have any concept of that. They think the government has all this money because let's be clear, the government does print money. They printed trillions of dollars. So they don't make money, but they can print money. You know, so people look at it like, if they're gonna print money, give some to me. You know what I mean?
Technically they can't, right?
Technically they can't.
Technically they can't,
because we're dealing with the
Federal
repercussions.
Reserve.
Well, we're dealing with the repercussions of that now with all this high prices and inflation that we have.
But I mean, even in terms of just like, technically they can't because Federal Reserve is not technically part of the government. Right. But on the other end, they can't because it's going to come back to hurt us regardless. Yeah. Rates are going to go up. It's going to affect our economy. You're just not going to feel it as hard right away.
But I think that's part of the problem is like there's no education when it comes to how money really works. Like we don't learn that at an early age. We don't learn finances unless you specifically study that in school. You have no concept of that. So for you, just thinking like, oh, the government's going to give me a check, to most people, it's just like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Because you have no idea what that really means, what that entails. Right. Yeah. You know, so I think that's part of the problem.
From you.
Lord, that makes how are people better under Trump though? Like, what are some things that you can point to?
Well, I mean, like I said, common sense. Everybody was looking better under Trump, but just in terms of the environment for people that were entrepreneurial, definitively one of the first things he did was he started slashing regulations, like, you know, slashing these barriers that prevent people who want to go into business from starting a business because they learn that there's all of these government agencies that are, you got to get this in place, you got to get this in place, you have to get, you know, this license. That's government agencies that are actually standing between you and starting a company. And so on his very first day, he was just like cutting regulations left and right, saying throw this one out, throw this one out, throw this one out, which freed up the markets. At the end of the day, what I am is I'm a free market capitalist. Free the markets, allow people to compete fairly, stop allowing the government to stop people or, you know, de-incentivize them from creating.
I mean, I wish she would have mentioned black unemployment. She didn't mention that under Trump, how that was the lowest it's ever been. She didn't mention, you know, gas prices. She didn't mention all of these things that kind of...
First Step Act,
yeah.
He also signed, for 10 years, HBCUs.
Yeah, HBCUs got funded.
Angela Stanton, he had a bill with her that no woman who has committed a crime while giving birth should be handcuffed to a bed.
That's right. Yeah, so she kind of like fumbled that answer a little bit. She just was like, "Well, he deregulated things, you know." Yeah, and
I mean, I think that's one of the most important things.
That was huge.
Yeah, because that's a problem. I mean, it sucks because on the state level, especially in New Jersey, like we have that. That's a huge issue.
It's hard to get in the game.
With so many regulations in New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey's big on that.
Yeah.
How about the pipeline?
Because of unions in New Jersey, and unions are usually heavily Democrat, and so New Jersey's tough with those kind of things.
Yeah, but you're right, Mom.
I don't know if she talked about that.
The pipeline is tied to gas prices that I was talking about. Like we were.
Yeah, we were set to be the biggest oil production country in the world.
We were self-sustaining our own oil. We were.
What did Biden do? Who he got in?
First day in,
he did what he said he wasn't going to do.
Yeah,
which shows you his integrity, right?
The other thing you're talking about, as far as like money and us going to school and not understanding money, we really need to add in politics to that.
Yeah,
and I think aside from money is huge and it should be number one, but it's understanding our political system and how does this work? Because like you say, when you really look at the numbers, just the pure numbers of the politicians who have become very wealthy while there, While you can't help but think there's insider trading going on. There's favoritism. There's corporate interest. When you look at a politician making $150,000 to $200,000 a year, which is already good money, right? And to leave after a 40, 30-year term, whatever that they've done, to leave that with 80, 100 and something $million, and say, oh, that's just based on your ability to invest properly. And everybody says, yeah, that makes sense.
Like we have this idea that our politicians should all be rich. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. But it just became a part of the culture. Right?
Yeah. And I think part of capitalism and what we're experiencing right now, there's also a curse to it too, which is they need to market it a certain way. It's kind of what we see with the prosperity gospel, right? If the pastor could sell you this dream that God wants me to be rich and he needs me to be an example so you can have something to aspire to, then you really won't question me in the Rolls Royce. You know what I mean? Because I'm your aspiration. You should, God is blessing me because I'm faithful, but if you're faithful like me, you'll get it. And that's essentially what so it's like there's all these little things that they show us, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to that point, I think politics, that the thing of the example and looking in that way, it's selfish.
Yeah.
Right? So
self-serving, for sure.
And it teaches us to be self-serving. So if we're only, I think we need to pay attention. If the country does well, you're going to do well.
Right.
Yeah. Right? And if you even think in that way, that's what kindness is. Politics is connected to politeness, right? I'm polite. Why are we polite? Because we're selfish. Politeness or niceness is really just to get along, right? Because of yourself, right? I don't want to have to deal with them.
You want to be comfortable.
I don't want to, let me be nice to him because I don't want to deal with their attitude because I don't. But if you deal with their attitude, it's kind of like you're in work. And you're a manager or something and you're like, well, I don't want to deal with what they're doing. So I'm just going to complain about them, right? They're not doing their work. They're not doing what they should be doing. I'll complain about them, but I'm not going to deal with it, right? But somebody who actually is kind and wants the actual company to progress is going to be like, listen, you're messing up. You're struggling, and we can help you, but if you continue on this road, it's not going to be good for you.
Right.
Or you're going to wait till things just blow up and then point at the person who's been doing it, and you knew it the whole time, but yet you were trying to be nice or being polite because you didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we're dealing with in this country.
Yeah.
As a whole, so many people are being selfish, and that's what I mean. Going back to talking about something and talking about people, but not having even the guts or the confidence or the courage to be like, let's deal with this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
New jobs. I'll give you an example. A cousin of mine wanted to start a food truck. Great, awesome, love for you to do that. And he looked into how many certifications and barriers there were before he could actually start the food truck. That is the government growing powerful. Essentially, you have to have money or you have to know somebody to play the game for you to be able to start from nothing and make something of yourself. Economic mobility is really what it's about. So, I mean, that was one of the things that I loved the most about Trump is that he was very sensible. He has a very good business head. He understands the business environment. And every person should want to, should be aspiring not to work for a bunch of people that don't have your best interests.
But to be able to, but so many of his businesses have failed, though.
Yeah, but even failing is a part of the things that I've tried to do have failed, right? And I don't ever let that be a barrier. I think that there's always this psychological mindset of people that are fearful to fail. That's the best way for things to happen because you learn so much in failure. And people always want to point to and mock somebody for failing. Like, oh, she tried to do this and then she failed. Well, at least she tried, right? What are you doing?
And everybody has losses.
And you learn from them. You grow from those losses,
That isn't that such a ghetto mentality? It's such a poverty mentality to point the finger. I can't tell you how many people that come up to me that I don't talk to and they'll see me, oh, what's up? You still doing that little group thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They try to down the music. Oh, you still doing music?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Sorry, I said that too.
It's, and you know what it is, but brush it off, whatever, because they don't get it. You don't understand. Yeah. But the thing is, are you gonna let that stop you?
Yeah.
It's
and that is one of the main talking points you hear all the time. Oh, he's such a great businessman, but he filed for bankruptcy, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, that's part of being a businessman.
Yeah.
Like,
You know how many billionaires have lost billions of dollars?
yeah.
It happens all the time.
Happens all the time.
Speaking of that, did you see that new that his company went public today?
Which one?
Trump's.
Which one?
True Social.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And immediately
I thought he was trying to sell it.
No, he sold it, but he's still a large stakeholder in the company. So when it went public, I think they said something about like he made like $6 billion.
Oh, really?
Here's your money.
Yeah. So people are losing it.
Yeah,
And he got that appellate court to move that to lower that amount that Letitia James was trying to get him to pay for the property fraud case.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
No, I was saying about Trump. That was like one of the, especially talking to a lot of my left black friends.
Yeah.
They would say, he's such a great businessman, like what you said, but he filed for bankruptcy, so many times and he failed.
Right.
But that's part of business.
Yeah.
Right.
And he uses the system. That's actually one of the things that I talked about before, about what I loved about when he was running and he was debating Hillary.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, oh snap.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted to using the system, and you're not changing the law.
You're not going to change it because too
donors-
many of your friends are using it too.
Dave Chappelle
he
pointed
called
that
her
out.
out.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle went viral.
But I think the reason people do that though is because, just like the Bible says, my people destroyed for lack of knowledge. That just like it's in there, it's not just biblical knowledge.
Right.
It's also a lot of people are destroyed for lack of, and they don't
It's
look
ignorance,
into it. They don't look into it because anybody who's in business knows that not every idea is going to stick.
Right.
But if if they've conditioned you to just get a job and be quiet and tune into the nightly news,
You have no idea
You
of
have
that,
no
though. Yeah.
idea. You have no concept.
So when you hear that, you're just like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He did fail at
he did
business.
fail. Yeah. So you
He's
don't understand.
terrible.
Like, no,
Yeah.
that's all the time.
Yeah.
That happens.
But even like just making the connection, because you can't even say biblical knowledge, and I know what you mean, like because the truth comes from God, right?
Yeah.
So everything that is true is coming from God anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're like when we fail, we're recognizing, okay, made that mistake. All right, yeah. That's I'm learning the discipline. I'm learning how to trust you. I'm learning what is true, right? We're going to fail. We're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because when you don't have a father, you're always trying to prove yourself.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But when you have a father, it is my house. I'm not getting kicked out. You're not going to not
you have
be
the freedom to fail.
Right. You're not going to not be the son because you
Right.
made a mistake.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to, because I made a mistake now, you're not my son anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
You know you're going to make a mistake. That's part of growing up. Right? So for us,
Right.
as children of God, we know that. And I think we even have to learn that, right? Because Jesus says it, I won't leave you orphaned.
Yeah.
So that means we got an orphan mentality. Right? Where we don't feel like we're actually children of God.
Yeah.
So we're learning how to be children of God. We're learning how to trust him, right? To know, no, I got you. And that's a lot of what religion or legalism does. It like makes you believe that if you mess up or you make a mistake or you do something, you fall, that now you're out.
Yeah.
And that's not what it is.
Right.
It's like, no, get back up. Let's work on it. No, be confident. You're not going to always deal with this problem.
Yeah.
You're going to find it.
Right. And another thing too, I would say what I've come to understand is sometimes it's your intersocial group, your parents, your environment, that their fears become your fears. So it's like, well, I wouldn't do that. I would just go ahead and get that good job down at the bus station.
Right.
And, get your 40 hours and get your pension. And, and I wouldn't take that chance.
Yeah.
And, look at Uncle Ricky. He down there. and so they package it because even though they love you and they care for you, in a weird way, they become a stumbling block to you.
Yeah.
Because their fears are so strong that they're like, well, let me put a little bit of this on you so you don't
Yeah.
So they package it in a certain way.
Because I want you to be safe. It's like
Right.
when your mom, you know, when you was a kid and you go out there, you want to ride your skateboard or your bike. Did you put your helmet and your knee pads? Don't forget your knee pads. No, but you need your elbows. Wrap up. Make sure you're nice and safe. You know what I mean? Because they don't want you to get hurt. They want to make sure you're secure.
So think about that, right? And an example of that would be like during Jim Crow, and we know how evil that was.
Yeah.
But a lot of black people were, because they couldn't go to white established businesses to shop. They became entrepreneurs because they had to.
Yeah. Well, she said it. She said they were outpacing
whites.
Yeah. Right. So we have evidence of that. Then we regressed under Lyndon Baines Johnson. We regressed under that, and it continued even all the way through Obama and even to now. Right. So then the other question, I'm a black person. I'm from the Caribbean, still a product of slavery, but I wasn't an American black person.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what black people have
What's it called? You're not ADOS.
I'm not
You
ADOS.
ain't ADOS, son.
Right. But here's the thing, right? I've always said this. I've noticed something, that black people were entrepreneurial because they had to be.
Yeah.
Once integration was brought in, and then these social programs, and like Jake has been talking about, the fathers taken out of the home.
Yeah.
Now fear sets in, because who's going to tell you that? And typically it's usually the mother, the grandmother, because they don't want to see you mess up.
Right.
And that fear becomes a stumbling block. Now, here's the contrast. Now you have a Pakistani man who comes over here, and he goes in the very hood that everybody said, don't open no business here, they're going to rob you. And he buys the thickest piece of plexiglass he can find.
With a small hole you could barely fit a dollar.
He goes
through.
and he buys that. What does the Koreans do?
Yeah.
They come in where do all these foreign businesses go?
To black neighborhoods. Yeah.
And you're being told, don't do this because...
Yeah.
So the fear is the stumbling block.
It's too hard. Yeah.
Right.
You know how many people, like how many women I've heard this from, with I know with your wife, like, and what she does. Oh, I can't work that many hours because they're going to take away my welfare.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She tells us that.
Yeah.
That's fear.
You can
right?
only schedule me this amount because I don't want to lose my welfare.
That's fear.
Yeah.
You can't look. You can't. You're limiting yourself. You can't see past that.
Right.
Right.
And here's the setup now. The setup is, if we push racism, then you will say, well, if I didn't get it, it's because they racist.
Yeah.
No, not because, listen, they want to give this to you.
Right.
But you're not fulfilling.
So instead of an opportunity, it's racism.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Because, but you could only work 20 hours because you need this.
Right.
But if you committed to 30 or 35 or 40, then it shows that you're capable of stepping into the role, which you would leave that old thing behind. You would gain this.
Right.
But you're so focused on this.
Don't want to lose what seems easy. And I'm thinking about this, like, who were the ones that sold this to the community? It was the intellectual blacks. It was the elite blacks that were the brulees, all of these people that you talked about in this How to Sell to the Negro video, where these were the ones that came to the community and said, you know, did all the speeches about how we need to fight for integration because they need to accept us as one of them because we are just as good as the white man, instead of understanding, like, we have our own economy.
And we already had it.
Yeah. It's thriving.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people could have been controlled opposition, could have been paid off and used to push an agenda, because I think, you know, some of the people in these elite positions probably did see the fact that blacks were outpacing them and said, oh, we got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And we got a PSYOP. We got somebody who is essentially a pet. You're going to do enough to control these people. You know what I mean?
And these are the ones that went to Harvard. These are the ones that were plucked out from the gifted and talented programs that were used as the pawns to send the message to the community, because these were propped up as their black leaders or intellectuals.
Yeah. But again, if you have, because it's not just like you can be strong in certain, like even them saying like they're outpacing and that whole thing that happened. But my thing is that if you're truly strong, those things aren't going to even affect you to where you now degrade, right?
Right.
So I think that's the most important thing. What is the core thing that's going to cause us to have strength mentally and then keep ourselves strong.
Well, that's where Jesus comes in, because that's the only. Nothing else is gonna sustain that. Anything else is gonna leave you vulnerable to be tricked and manipulated. There's always a way to be manipulated where you could lose it all. It takes generations, but look where the black community is now, as opposed to even where our grandfather and our dad grew up.
And a lot of these, like, if you think about like Koreans, like he was saying, Pakistanis, like
even Africans.
Africans,
I'm saying those who came into the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
All they're doing is filling voids, the voids that were left there to fill.
But
right?
I'm actually reminded, because you said that earlier. They're all immigrants, right?
Yeah.
That's why you should vote for Trump, because he's going to make it easier for you to fill that void through business. Instead of the Koreans selling the hair stuff.
Yeah.
You sell your.
And I think that's what ultimately he wanted. He if you listen to him in terms of business, he does want America products to be made here. He does want business back.
He put those tariffs on China.
Yeah,
he told Mexico, like, yo, we're not. Those plants moved from Mexico back to the U.S.
Yeah.
He brought so many jobs back here during his presidency.
Yeah, they're not gonna wait out 4 years.
No.
So no corporation's gonna be like, no, we're gonna sit out 4 years. No, they're not. They know this is the biggest market. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So you got these other videos.
Yeah, which are kind of connected to fear. We were just talking about where fear will hold you back, fear of failing, like all these things, fear of just staying comfortable, right? This is kind of what they're talking about.
Literally what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, people live with so much fear.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, I don't know if taking this risk is like, you know what? My life's not terrible the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think people get so caught up in, I would say it's just selfish. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that you might not want to take risk because you're not scared of work or not, and you're just, I guess, like, yeah, you know what? Like, my life's fine the way it is. I mean, to me, it's just selfish thinking.
When your life is driven by fear, you are a prisoner in such a small world. One of the things I learned early on is that whatever you fear establishes the boundaries of your freedom. So if you're afraid of heights, you stay low. If you're afraid of people, you stay alone. And if you're afraid of risk, you stay secure. And one of the interesting things to me is, I think, and early on in my life, it just made this commitment that I would use fear to my advantage. That whenever I was afraid, I was going to move hard and fast that direction. And, and I look back at my life now and I realize, oh, wow, so many people think I was full of courage. They don't realize I had as much fear as I did.
Yeah.
I just used fear to my advantage. And I love graphic novels. And in my back house, I have all these comic books and I have all these posters of Daredevil everywhere. And one of the reasons I loved Daredevil was that he was a man without fear. And even when I was a kid, I just decided I'm going to take on Daredevil's persona. And he was blind. He had what other people saw as a limitation, but he had invisible superpowers that no one could ever imagine. And so I just, in a sense, took on that persona. I thought, hey, other people may not see talent in me, but I have hidden, unknown superpowers. And I'm going to make my superpower being fearless. I have no control over how much talent I have. I have no control over really how much intelligence I have. I have no control over how tall I am or how good looking I am. That's all, outside of my control. I have control over how much integrity I have. I have control over how much courage I have. I have control of how I will deal with fear and whether I will let fear limit my life or I will use fear as my compass that says, no, that's my next territory to take over.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Huh? What's his name? Erwin McManus.
I know the other guy. He's a real estate guy.
Okay.
I follow him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fear his hair.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing, bro. That is so funny. When he was talking, I was like, man, I fear that haircut. That haircut was on point.
How can you have faith and be defined by fear?
I mean, they're opposites. It's duality.
Yeah.
So how does somebody break free of fear and develop courage? Because, we're talking about these other aspects of life. Hey, well, I was born talented and, this and that and that. And it's like, well, those things play into confidence and courage and everything else.
Actually, when you build your confidence on talent, you become arrogant. Confidence is actually built on discipline.
Okay. I can resonate with that.
Not on talent.
So confidence, confidence is built on discipline. Yeah. Arrogance is built on talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That's
that.
dope. No, you didn't. You said something similar to that.
Similar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so what happens with world level athletes, you can see them. Some of them are so talented that all of their confidence is based on their talent. And so they fracture under pressure. But the greatest athletes like Novak and Rafa, like Steph Curry, like they actually put their confidence on their discipline, their hard work, and their commitment to details.
Their preparation.
Jordan was the same way.
And one of the things I was able to
Kobe
discover in my
Bryant,
life was because I never felt talented enough. And I think it was an incredible gift. In fact, I write in the book about the curse of talent. If you're incredibly talented when you're young, you have a tendency to have built your confidence on your talent. So when the talent is no longer enough, you actually have a crisis of identity.
We know someone very close to us was struggling with that. Struggling with that.
And talented people usually don't have to build the internal structures for success. People will build structures around you when you have talent, which is why most pro football players, 75% of them, within 5 years after their career is over, are divorced, bankrupt, dead, or drug addicted. And it's because external structures were placed on their life so that people could take advantage of their talent.
Right.
When you have the gift that I had, no obvious talent at all.
I grew up with no talent. I had to figure it out.
I had a brother who was like the fastest kid in the United States in 6th grade.
Whoa.
He was a college, he was a quarterback in high school that broke all the conference passing records. He's also a genius. And we were in the same grade because my mom thought it was easier to put us in school together. So he was 7, I was 5. And I thought we were twins, but I was the anemic, untalented twin. And so what I had was I had no external structures for success. I had to build internal structures.
First of all, why would you put a 7-year-old in the same grade as that is messed up, bro. That's crazy.
Well, the 5-year-old in the same grade as a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
Well,
2
they
years.
both had to be in kindergarten together, so the one's old as heck in kindergarten.
Well, maybe he went in later. I don't know.
But 2 years at a young age is
It's significant.
big difference.
So, but I'm thinking like as the younger one, you're always feeling like you're trying to get to his level because he's so much older.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's what he said. But he said he's saying it made him build in internal.
Yeah,
right. That's it. It had he learned like a lot of people can't do that, but he learned to build himself up internally. Like he just said it. His brother was one of the fastest people in the country.
Yeah.
Like as a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
When you actually build your confidence on your discipline, on your preparation, on your character, it becomes unshakable.
Right.
And because it's not based on your talent. And then when you discover you might have some talent, because I look back now on my life and I go, wow, people actually think I have talent because they've mistaken my hard work for talent.
Yeah.
They've mistaken my person. And it's funny now. I mean, I get introduced to places and people go, Erwin McManus is a savant or he's a genius or he's a polymath. I'm going, I barely graduated high school. I had to beg the principal to graduate me from high school.
Yeah.
The difference was that perseverance starts looking like genius. And because when you resolve to not quit, you learn things that can only be learned in the crucible of discipline and resilience.
Yeah.
And you suddenly...
That is a fact, man.
Yeah, the crucible. That's the fire, right?
Yeah.
That's actually the story of most millionaires and billionaires.
That's
they
true.
were never A students.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like C and D students.
Yep. Yep.
Figured out a way.
Yeah.
Perseverance. For me, like when when we do shows and stuff and I hear people come up to me like, man, your voice is amazing. Like it's hard for me to receive that a lot of times because I'm like, no, it's not. Like to me,
right?
And then you.
What do you call it, me, when I say something self-righteous?
No, but no. But I'm gonna explain it, Mom, because it's a little different than what you were saying. So because I go back to the point where I remember when we were struggling, I'm like, man, I don't get no lead parts.
Yeah.
And then you said to me, what'd you say to me?
I said, I don't remember. I said something along the lines like, you need to work harder then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you said that, I was pissed, right?
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I do got to work harder.
Yeah.
Right? So that made me... and I didn't work harder in my own... In like doing what everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
It was just... It made me click. So then I'm like... So I remember started sitting down, playing on the piano.
Yeah.
Singing songs on the piano as I'm singing. Even as I was doing that, I recognized, I'm seeing ways I'm singing with my voice and where my tongue is and things that I didn't notice before. And I started like actually teaching myself vocals, right? Like in terms of like how to sing.
You started finding your voice.
I started finding my voice.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching vocals. So then I'm teaching other people how to find their voice, right? But I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
I had to find my own voice, right? No, I didn't have nobody to coach me.
Right.
And that is something that for me, like, has always been something that I think was like kind of like a more hidden thing. Like even with like when I ran hurdles, I was always like pretty fast, but like when I ran hurdles, they're like,
I remember that.
Do you want to run hurdles? We don't have a hurdle coach.
Yeah.
I guess. So I go out there, dude, I suck.
Yeah.
Right? I can't run hurdles.
But I remember you were obsessed with watching the guys that were good.
But yeah, so I would watch the ones who were good and I would watch, what are they doing? What are the coaches teaching them? And I would take that and take it into my own thing. And I would observe everything they would do. And then I would take it into what I would do and just teach myself.
Yeah.
So, I know like for some people, that's not easy to do. But for me, that's always been something like, all right, I can take this on myself. I can't do it with everything, but like internally, those are things that I could do and then grow myself. But like when I hear somebody say, oh man, you sound amazing.
Yeah.
I don't take it like it's talent. You get what I'm saying? I take it more like
it's discipline.
It's discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to discipline myself to get here, to get to the place where I am.
Right.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I sat down and I worked it out. But it was like the hard love from you that sounded like annoyance. I didn't want to hear it at that very moment. But it was because you said that hard thing to me that caused me to internalize that, right? And take that in and not to get offended by it eventually.
But and when I was saying it to you, I was saying it from a place of like, that's what I did. You know what I mean? Like, because I never felt like I was just given this ability to sing. You know what I mean? Like I know that for a fact that I sat there and I used to just like pick songs and just sing them and sing them and sing them and try to work my voice, try to get better at singing. You know what I mean? And I knew that was the only reason why I was able to do it was from working on it.
Right. And I remember like singing backgrounds, like I settled in that, like thinking, well, I'll just do this, you know, like but then it was something in me that was like, no, this isn't, I had more in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to recognize that, like I wasn't okay with just doing that, you know? And it wasn't me trying to prove myself. It was just something in me. I felt that, you know what I mean? So there's a fear that you can settle. Like I could have settled in that fear and just been like, I'll just stay here, you know? And then there's that other part where you can get offended. You can internalize it and think like, nobody sees me, type thing.
No
you know
one's
what I'm
giving
saying?
me a
Nobody's
chance.
seeing me.
Yeah.
And that's very dangerous too.
But don't we hear that a lot in modern psychology? I don't feel seen.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yep.
I don't feel seen.
But I remember having those feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's like, I'm not going to just stay with these feelings. I'm going to talk about, you know, I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
And if I never said nothing, you would have never said nothing to me.
Right.
You know, that's just an example
that's never been you to not say something. Yeah. That's never been you to just sit there and with these feelings and I'm not going to say it. No,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's part of my, I don't know, my makeup or something.
Yep. Yeah.
But it was the same thing like when we went out to sell CDs. Same thing, like without CDs. You know, like you have a fear. You have all these things that, like, this doesn't make any sense. You know, this thing, how are we going to do this?
Right.
But
I don't want to do this. Like that.
Rejection too.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I don't want to face rejection. I was so afraid of facing rejection at first.
Yeah, right. But then it's like, I felt it in me like, all right, let's just go.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to do it. We're going to. And then that first one. And that's how you know, for me, I think like God meets you in those places.
Yeah.
Like if you take a step, he's going to meet you there because he knows you need to be encouraged.
Yeah.
You know, because if that first person didn't buy that CD without us having CDs, right? We just had them write down their address and we said we were going to sell them the CD. But if that person didn't do that, maybe we wouldn't have did it anymore. We would have probably like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This isn't working.
It just that scene. It's that scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when he's like when he's finally finds the like lost place, right? And remember when he's like at that point where it said something about a leap of faith, right? And he had to take that step off the cliff, the edge of the cliff,
right?
But there's nowhere to walk,
right?
And he's like, I'm gonna fall. Like I can't take a step. And then he just blindly does it, takes a step, and then the rock appears underneath of him, and it was an optical illusion. It was really there the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can add something that I was thinking about a little while ago, but as you guys are saying this, I feel like part of the reason a lot of this happens to adults is what we've been talking about a long time. It's the parenting, the parenting structure, the father and the mother in the home. But there's something that I think that we're missing is, and you and I talked about this before, Jamie, was as a society, as a group, we don't usher boys into manhood and we don't usher girls into womanhood and teach them that. In fact, what we do is like, that's just how they are. They're shy or they're this, and leave them alone. Or we tend to make excuses for them. And we don't see it as a teaching opportunity to say, no, you were here.
Yeah.
You went to here and now you're entering this.
Yeah.
And this comes with a certain level of responsibility. So saying, I'm shy, I don't like to talk to people.
Right.
No, you have to talk to people. You have to be assertive. But not in a mean way to show off or anything like that, but it's to bring out that side of you, because life from this point on is going to be different than life was. It doesn't mean good or bad, but it's just the seasons of life. And I think what we do is we say, that's just how they are. That's just, and we do it all the time. And kids, what you do is you actually set them up to stay in a childlike. Because they basically recoil back into like, they're
gonna do it for
I am
me.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, again, what kind of structures are we receiving? What things are we internalizing? If we're going to therapy and they're like, oh, well, you just have anxiety. Now you're going to take that in and, oh, I just have anxiety.
Yeah.
So then, oh, I can't do that. I just have anxiety.
And that's become your excuse.
Yeah.
That becomes your lie that you hold on to, and it becomes your comfort.
It becomes your way out of things too.
Right.
It becomes your manipulation.
It becomes your manipulation, but you're only really, truly manipulating yourself to stay in bondage. You're really like a slave to, like he said, you're a slave to your fear.
Yeah.
Right? You can't, you're limiting yourself, right? And I think if we're real with ourselves, we all limit ourselves to a certain extent.
And we're constantly finding out ways to remove those limits. I think that's part of why we have these conversations, because there's things that come up where you're like, man, I never realized I did that. And then you can start to break that off of yourself as well. Because we're constantly coming out of programming, coming out of all of these manipulations, these lies that we've told ourselves throughout our lives. Speaking of that, though, and we're talking about Candace Owens, I want to get on to this next thing because this went viral all day today. I've been hearing about Christ is King. I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
I was going to send it, but I was like, it's so much, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But we got to get into it because it's like, so Candace Owens, after this interview with the Breakfast Club, and she also did, I sent you guys the debate that she had with that rabbi who wrote that article about her being anti-Semitic, and we talked about that a little bit, but it really got heated, and it was kind of it was a crazy. I suggest anybody go watch that interview. It's with Rabbi Barclay. I don't even know if it's up anymore, because shortly after that, Candace Owens and Daily Wire parted ways. So she's no longer employed by Daily Wire, which, a lot, I think the Breakfast Club even asked her, like, do you think they're going to fire you or something like that? Like, because of the things that she had been saying. And we all know that Ben Shapiro is the co-founder of Daily Wire, and he is very vocal about his support for Israel, of course, because his wife's from Israel. He's an Ashkenazi Jew. He is, he wears his yarmulke on every stream. So after Candace Owens left the Daily Wire, there's been a lot of talk on Twitter, especially about what does this mean? Like the Daily Wire people were posting clips of Ben Shapiro in the past talking about how the left is about cancel culture and they always afraid of eating in their own and canceling each other. And then they fire Candace Owens for the things that she's been saying. So what does that mean? You know, and then people were bringing up an old tweet that Candace put up because when her and Ben had that feud last year after the Israel-Palestine thing, Candace Owens posted this tweet right here. I think she posted something about people were asking her to respond about the Ben Shapiro thing because he publicly said that she was disgraceful or something like that. So she just posted this tweet that said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." So she posted that tweet. And I remember, and then, so then look at the reply. She replied to that tweet. She commented under that tweet and wrote, "Christ is King," right? So that's where this all stems from. People were bringing that back up because this is from back last year. So people were bringing that back up because Ben Shapiro replied to this tweet and said, if you have a problem with the money that you make, you can go ahead and quit. I remember that was his response to this tweet, which caused a whole nother backlash because they're trying to say that her posting this was a direct shot at calling for a ceasefire or something like that, talking about peace in Israel or whatever. So then, right after they part ways, Andrew Klavan, who is on the Daily Wire, he did a whole episode pretty much talking about how the phrase "Christ is King" is anti-Semitic. And let's play a little bit of this clip right here.
Grown. You know, when I did this, by the way, the priest who baptized me said, Christians won't accept you. You'll still be a Jew. And I said, well, I am. That's my race. I'm a Jew. I'm proud of my race. It's a great race. It's done many, many great things, including write the Bible. And, I am a Jew. But that hasn't happened at all. Christians have welcomed me with open arms, except this Christ the King, anti-Semitic crowd. Christ is the King, and one day every knee will bow and recognize it because he's not just my King, he's King of the universe. But when you use that phrase to mean that God has abandoned his chosen people, the Jews, through whom he came into this world incarnate, and that he's broken his promises, his covenant with the Jews, you are quoting Scripture like Satan does in the Bible. You are quoting Scripture to your purposes, and that to me is specifically wicked. When you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro, my friend Ben Shapiro, and I understand this. All of you who love Ben, and I love Ben, and Jordan Peterson, you all want to see them find Jesus because you know what joy and freedom that gives you, and you certainly feel that it alters your relationship with God. But when I think about this, to be honest with you, and I know some people will disagree with this, but life is not a game show where you guess the name of God and you get to go to heaven. Honk, yes, the name is Jesus. I look at Ben's life and I think if Ben were to embrace Jesus Christ, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. I just have this feeling that God has put this guy where he wants him to do what he wants him to do. And as you know, I feel that, the Jews were not abandoned by God.
So that's pretty much, people were posting this clip up of him saying that.
Which is obviously at Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Without hashtag at Candace Owens.
Right.
Or whatever.
But the idea that you can say Christ is, but to me, it's like, so what this, let's just keep going with this. So what this did was it spawned a whole bunch of memes, a whole bunch of people just posting on Twitter, "Christ is King." And it started trending because of this, because people are like, wait a minute. So we're the only religion in this country that's not allowed to profess their faith or show pride in their faith or show.
It's
It's anti-Semitic if you do that.
Everything now. is anti-Semitic.
And that's what the point that Candace was trying to make. Like, you can't.
Didn't the CEO, I forget his name,
Jeremy Boring?
Yeah, didn't he write something about?
He did. Do
you have that? Or
yeah,
no?
I do have that. So what happened was Andrew Clavin posted this, and then I just want to.
Jewish too?
Yeah, he is. He's Jeremy Boring? Yeah, he's Jewish too. So I just want to show this real quick because we showed this before on the podcast, but he talked about Ben Shapiro. He talked about if you say Christ is king at Ben Shapiro, it's an attack. It's anti-Semitic. I just want to show this.
Did she say at Ben Shapiro?
She never did. She never did.
Yeah,
she didn't. She didn't even mention him in that tweet at all.
Right.
But you know,
they took it personal.
They're inserting themselves in the victim status of that tweet.
Right.
So I
Who's
just want to
been complaining about victim mentality.
Oh, of course. But I want to show this because this is Ben Shapiro overtly talking about Jesus Christ himself.
Did you read that tweet though?
What tweet?
The title of that.
No. I just knew the clip because I've seen this before. We played it on here before. But this is Ben Shapiro on Joe Rogan talking about
Shapiro.
Jewish point of view, where we don't believe in the divinity of Christ. I think that there you can make an argument that the Gospels, which were written,
he was just a prophet.
No. We don't even believe he was a prophet.
What do you think he was? What do you guys think?
What do I think he was historically? I think he was a Jew who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble, just like a lot of other Jews at that time who were crucified for trying to lead revolts against the Roman and got killed for their trouble.
So he became legend in story, and it became a bigger and bigger deal as time went on.
Yeah, he had a group of followers, and then that gradually grew, and then
do you think he was resurrected?
No, that's not a Jewish belief.
Okay, I just want to check.
Yeah, no, we're not into we're not into miracle stories. No, that's
no?
not. No.
You don't have any miracles?
No, not by Jesus. Right?
No?
They're ones in the Old Testament.
Ones?
Yeah, you've got Moses splitting the sea and all that.
What do you think happened there?
What do I think happened there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with the Maimonidean explanation that there was. It says in the Bible there was a strong east wind. So there was a naturalistic explanation for.
Anyway, so he said he basically said Jesus was a Jew who tried to lead a revolt against Rome and got killed for his troubles. Then people were pointing out these other tweets where he openly mocked the Passion of the Christ. Mel Gibson, New York Post posted up how Mel Gibson is reportedly making Passion of the Christ the sequel. And he responded by saying, the Passion 2, he won't be crossed again. Huh?
Yeah.
Anybody?
He's allowed to do that.
Anybody? Is this funny? No one's laughing? Okay. Passion of the Christ 2, he won't be crossed again. No, but why I'm showing this is because it's like, it's okay.
To mock Christianity.
For them. For him,
that's anti-Christian
to mock Jesus at any turn. Like, and this is something we talk about culture, we talk about cultivation, we talk about Hollywood, we talk about TV shows. Who is the only religious figure that you see openly mocked over and over and over again in these movies, TV shows?
Jesus.
Which religious group you always see the Ned Flanders, you always see the overly zealous Christian family. You always see like the very judgmental Christians that are mocked in these shows and movies. That's slowly the idea, and I think that has kind of beaten Christians in this country into a mindset of
into proving themselves.
Not proving themselves. I think more of a
accepting the mockery.
I think more of a not wanting to rock the boat. Not wanting to offend anyone, not wanting to stand on what you say you believe in.
To me, that's like proving themselves because like, oh no, we're not. That's not who we are.
You
Like, know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. In that way, like proving you're not one of those Christians, right? So so what it does is it disarms you as a Christian.
Yeah.
So now, like,
because if I'm always trying to look at like, no, I want to. If I'm looking at like, well, you might see me in that way, but I don't want you to see me in that way. So I'm going to talk to you in the way that you won't see me. I'm literally bound
by
that. You know what I mean? But if I'm like, no, I love you and I'm going to talk to you the way I've learned what God has shown me, that's different, right?
Yeah.
I'm confident in what I've learned, right? I'm confident in the truth that I've learned. So that's freedom, right? That's freedom.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with a lot of scared, bound Christians.
Yeah.
That are afraid of, and that's a lot of the issue we've had in this country Everybody's afraid to say stuff against people. Oh, I can't say nothing against black people because they're black, and I'm gonna be deemed a racist. Oh, I can't say nothing about gay people because they're gonna say I don't love them.
Right.
Oh, I can't say nothing. It's
about Jews.
Yeah, I can't say nothing about.
In this
I can't
case,
criticize Israel.
In this case, they're just saying Jesus is king.
But that's what they're.
But that's sensitive. This group is so sensitive right now that they take anything.
Good.
Nah, that I'm a little PO'd seeing this. You're bringing a good point.
Yeah.
By chance, did you watch the anomaly breakdown of all of this?
No, I didn't see his yet.
So here's what they're fighting for.
Right.
They're fighting right now. They're proposing a bill to say that some of the language in the Bible is anti-Semitic.
Really?
Yes, and Republicans are actually campaigning for this too.
Well, Republicans passed the anti-Semitic speech bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's part of it, but they want to say this part of these parts of the Bible are anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Semitic.
Yeah, we're getting into a weird, crazy territory here. Yeah, so let's show. So pull this up, Mom. This is Jeremy Boring's response to then people's criticism and posting this tweet. People are just posting that phrase, "Christ is King." They're just posting it, and of course, people are losing it over this. So he said, "How is saying Christ is King?" Oh no, because this is in response to Jason Whitlock. He said, "I'm asking this sincerely. I'm a student of life. I'm not that smart. There are many things I do not know. This is a sincere question without snark or sarcasm or trolling. How is saying Christ is King anti-Semitic? When did this become true?" And then he said, "Is it true?" So then Jeremy Boring responds with a long tweet, and he says, "How is saying Christ is King anti-Semitic? The same way anything becomes anti-Semitic." And that's a good point, because we say it is. No, but he says, when it's used for the purpose of expressing anti-Semitism. What? That's like circular reasoning right there. It's like asking, how does a shovel become a murder weapon? When it's used to murder someone. This isn't hard. A shovel is not innately a murder weapon. Saying Christ is King is not innately anti-Semitic. It's all about how a thing is used. Saying eat some cornbread is not racist if you say it to my 3-year-old when she's refusing her dinner. If I start saying it as a response to X posts by black commentators I don't like, it's taken on a meaning beyond what is innate. In other words, it's connotatively racist, not denotatively racist. So to Christ is King may be anti-Semitic in connotation while not in denotation when it is being used to express anti-Semitism.
So smart, you're stupid.
Yeah. So, but these are the people.
Just reminds me of that professor that debated Jordan Peterson.
The funny thing is, like Jeremy Boring, Ben Shapiro, all these guys on the Daily Wire, they would sit around and have a discussion while they're smoking their cigars in the backstage thing that they do, talking about how all the people that are mad about a cornbread tweet are stupid. You know what I mean? They would talk about this for hours. Like, these people are too sensitive. Everything's racist, blah, 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 blah. But then this, somehow, they can reason their way into explaining how it's anti-Semitic. This reminds me of the Rabbi Barclay explaining to Candace Owens why everything's because we're offended by it. Therefore, it's anti-Semitic.
Yeah. It reminds me of how without God, we're all born into sin. Without Christ, we're all born into sin, right? And that's why we're born again. Because we need to come out of that place, right? We need to be set apart from that place. Because if you're not, can you be a good judge? And or are you going to be partial?
Yeah.
See what I mean? Are you going to have equity? No.
Yeah.
You're not going to have equity. You're not going to be impartial because you're going to be biased. And it's understandable. But when you grow up, and I'm saying that in a spiritual way, you learn how to judge, And that's the difference, I think, is that this is what happens in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody's susceptible to this, right?
Right.
Even, I'm not saying believers aren't susceptible. They are.
Right.
I'm just saying that with God, with Christ, we can overcome these things, right? But we do have to have sympathy for these people.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm saying these people, I mean everybody who doesn't get it, who doesn't understand it, and who's biased but don't see that they're being biased. You gotta have sympathy.
But do you think there's any merit to that stance that, like, if you can wield that phrase as a weapon to offend people purposely, or just use it as like, I'm saying Christ is king because I know you don't like it?
You can do that. You can do. You can say like the other guy. I don't know, the bald head guy who
Andrew Clavin.
Yeah, you can say Christ is king. Every knee, like he said, every knee is gonna bow.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna see.
Right.
Type. You can have that attitude, but that's childish.
Yeah.
Like it's still. It's you got to see that that's childish.
Right.
Right. It's not anti-Semitic.
Right.
It's just childish.
And for people who claim that you shouldn't be offended by stupid things like that, to be offended by that shows that you don't really believe what you say.
Yeah.
And defending your buddy who, has mocked Jesus.
There's so many people pulled up.
times.
That was only the two that I just pulled up, but there
Yeah.
was others where he just like makes jokes about Jesus.
That just the Joe Rogan interview. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, he was just a Jew that just like any other Jew that
Yeah.
got killed for
Yeah.
revolting against the Romans.
Yep.
You're downing a religion.
Yep.
So
The moment you say anti-Semitic, you just blanket it and say you're wrong.
Am I like incorrect on this? But isn't that even not an accurate term? Like the Semites were not just Jews.
No.
Semites were
come from
Arabs too.
Come from Shem.
Right.
It's the son of Noah, Shem.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess it's
Speaks about a region, really.
It's the Semitic language.
The Semitic language, but
Yeah.
there was Arabs, there was Jews, there was a bunch of people that spoke the Semitic language. So saying something is anti-Semitic doesn't even really make sense to me.
Yeah,
I don't know the history.
I don't know why they say it. I know that Abraham came through Shem, and
Yeah.
you know the line,
Right.
of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob,
Mhm.
and Israel was Jacob. So I
Maybe
can
that's
get it.
it. Maybe that's it.
But I just, why wouldn't it be like
Anti-Israel.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that we don't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Maybe Jeremy Boring can break it down for us.
I'd like to see what the Michael Knowles.
Bro, that is
I
a
wanna-
great point. What about Matt Walsh?
Matt Walsh.
Matt
They're-
Walsh
they're
is like the
Christians.
biggest. Him and Michael Knowles are like the huge Catholics on the show.
Yeah.
He did What Is a Woman? They're always talking about Christianity. They're very quiet on this topic.
Yeah.
They're also quiet. They're very vocal on reparations, but they're very, very quiet on giving all that money away too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They are.
But remember what the Bible says. It says in Luke 9:26, "For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in his glory and the glory of the Father and of the holy angels."
So what's the point of that scripture that you're bringing it up?
Yeah, it's a point that the people of God should not be ashamed to speak out just because they're saying they're anti-Semitic.
So you should be able to say Christ is King proudly because without it being used as.
They want to stop the people.
But I think that's why people are posting it. I think that's why it was trending, because people are starting to say like, no, like we got to be able to say this.
Yeah. Well, it's freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to because hate speech is the problem. Because how do you govern that? Like
Yeah.
how do you? There's no way to really because you can say something as hate speech. That's why when you're saying anti-Semitic, well,
Yeah.
it's really and you can tell by what the guy that
Andrew Clavin.
No, I don't know. The rabbi that
Oh,
Candace Owens
Rabbi
was talking
Barclay, yeah.
Yeah, you could tell by his explanations It's really however you feel.
Yeah. He said it. He said it's an evolving definition.
Right.
It can mutate. That's the word he said. It can mutate. Yeah.
And it's just
that
like
sounds quite like the LGBT thing.
But she brought that up.
Yeah.
It's like Black Lives Matter. It's like it's like CRT. It's like
It never stops.
Yeah. Everything is whiteness. Everything is homophobia. Everything is transphobia. You know.
And we granted we shouldn't be going out there trying to offend people.
No, absolutely.
But then again, it's like, well, you gotta be walking. You don't know what gonna offend people. Like that's how conversations break down.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, well, I don't want to say nothing because I don't want to. That's fear.
Right.
Right. But what if you? So no, I want to talk to them. I want to talk to them. See how. And then I'm offending them now because I said something that is offensive.
I quoted a scripture and I said Christ is king.
Right. But if that's not my intent, if that's not my intent, then there shouldn't be offense in that way. Right.
Well, let's see what Candace responded with. She said the reason why some people believe that with enough instance they can convince American Christians that the basic truth Christ is king is actually anti-Semitic is because they have been successfully spiking the ball on Christians for the past 60 years. Inch by pretending to be our friends and making us fearful of having the media project us as overzealous. I just said that in all of the TV shows. You get Ned Flanders is the overzealous Christian, right? Is how they have scored so many wins. It's how mocking Christ has become commonplace in Hollywood. The reality is they accuse us of what they are guilty of. They hold contempt for Christianity. The reality is that Christ consciousness is rising throughout the world. I don't like that phrase. And any person who is attempting to use methods of psychology to make people pause before they profess their faith is not on the side of goodness. So that was her response to what's going on. And then I also want to show this because Andrew Tate chimed in, and we all know that he's a Muslim now, right? So he says, as a Muslim, it warms my heart to see the resurgence of the spirited Christian declarations. Christ is king. And I pray Christianity regains its strength and protects its societies against the pervasive and constant erosion of morality by the devotees of Satan. If you accept everything, you stand for nothing. And then I just want to show there's another Muslim that made a post about this on TikTok. I want to show real quick.
Ben Shapiro and his organization, The Daily Wire, have announced that the phrase Christ is king is now considered anti-Semitic. This is just a day after they kicked out Candace Owens from the organization for allegedly making anti-Semitic remarks. Here is a tweet by the CEO of The Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, explaining why the term Christ is king is. He used the example where a shovel can be used to unalive someone. That makes the shovel a murderous weapon, but the shovel in and of itself isn't a murderous weapon. In the same way, the phrase Christ is king is not in and of itself anti-Semitic, but because of X, Y, and Z reason, according to Jeremy Boring, our king, it is now considered anti-Semitic, and you cannot say it. And aren't you also?
I'm sorry, that is the dumbest connection, or comparison, dude.
Right?
Come on.
Yep.
To be the anti-woke, the pro-free speech absolutist platform where anyone is allowed to say anything no matter how offensive. And a lot of people who are defending this absurd take by the Daily Wire are basically saying, look, the Muslims are also celebrating the phrase Christ is king, so it must be anti-Semitic. Well, that's because Jesus Christ is also extremely well respected in Islam. You do realize he's also a prophet in Islam, right? He's called Isa. And this is why Muslims will stand behind our Christian brothers and sisters and defend their right for saying Christ is king.
So they're showing that because Muslims are okay with this, that shows that they're only okay with it to get at Jews as well. That's why it's
Muslims
anti-Semitic.
are only okay with it to get at Jews.
That's what the anti-Semitic stance is, that it's anti-Semitic because it's obvious because Muslims are okay with it.
Yeah, but what does that matter?
Because Muslims aren't offended by it.
Right, but I'm saying like that doesn't correlate. But they're trying to make
to make the correlation
but
because
it doesn't correlate.
Because Muslims hate us, but they're okay with this because it's an attack on us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the logic behind that.
Yeah, I mean, just because somebody agrees with you doesn't mean you agree with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Come on.
Well, I subscribe to the Daily Wire, and I am rethinking
I know a lot of people unsubscribe.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they part of. I mean, we don't know the full story. Candace Owens tweeted that she's free now, so I'm sure it was. You know, it's probably more of her contract was up and she didn't want to renew with them. She didn't want to continue to work with them. I'm sure there was a lot of tension there.
Yeah, but then don't say the stuff that you're saying. Don't come out with this stuff.
What you mean?
Christ is King thing to do the
Andrew Cleveland. Yeah.
Why even come out with that? And then the other guy, the CEO. Like,
well, what I'm saying is like, I don't know if they necessarily just fired her out of like, we're done with her, we're tired of her, or if she really didn't want to work with them anymore anyway. You know what I mean?
Well, my point is that then why make it public?
Yeah.
Why, it shouldn't have been
even
all
address that.
Yeah, that should not have been a thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that they did it
But that's what's making it a big controversy.
Right. And that's why
after her.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's what Moon is saying. Like, I'm done with because that's the way they're handling their business.
That's a bad business move to me.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have all these Christians like, dang.
And a lot of their followers are Christians, and a lot of Christians in the conservative movement are saying like, "Man, we supported these guys for years. We helped blow them up." You know what I mean? And then they're re-looking at it like, "Wait a minute, we need to be following people that believe what we believe."
Yeah.
Anomaly did it. I listened to 2 today.
Yeah, I gotta watch his. I forgot to check out what his take was
my
on
God.
it.
His take was spot on.
He's another one that's been labeled an anti-Semite for years.
Brought up Patrick Bet-David too, and he brought up some stuff
because Patrick Bet-David just signed Chris Cuomo.
Yep.
Which I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. And he talked about. There's a lot. It's a lot. You got to watch it. I was gonna send it, but I was like, this is hours. It's like.
Oh, it's a long one. Yeah, I'll watch it.
I think it's about 2 hours long.
Yeah,
but it was deep. He brought up a lot of that. He brought up a lot of what has been happening, especially with the conservative movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
who they've been aligning with over the years,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What they're about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Trump, Ron DeSantis, some
yeah.
of the stuff that they've okayed, and you know, so
I know definitely both of them were involved in that anti-Semitic speech bill that was passed. Yeah. So and that was definitely, I didn't understand what that was about. That came out of nowhere. But yeah, it's crazy, man. We were talking about how AIPAC was funding certain things. Last week we talked about that. We talked about the ADL. Like it's there's a lot of weird stuff that's influencing the decision making that, you know, you're not allowed to talk about. And Candace was talking about a lot of that stuff, especially after things started going south when she made certain comments about Palestine and Israel. Yeah. So I think, you know, it's created this whole conversation around like, why is it not okay to be a Christian? It's okay to be everything else. Why is it not okay to be a Christian? Why is it not allowed? Why are we not allowed to say Jesus is the King of the world? Why are we not allowed to say that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what we believe.
Yeah.
Because even when he's talking to Joe, he's sarcastically doing it. He's not just like when Joe asked him, he's like, "You just
yeah."
He's doing it in a way to dismiss it, like this is just
because he knows there's no backlash going to come from that.
But my thing is like, he's so intellectual, and that was so intellectually dumb.
Yeah.
To even say that,
right?
Because of so much. Like, come on, dude. The New Testament is there's more. Gospels have more copies than anything else in history.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can't even acknowledge like that at least there were things that were true, like he was crucified.
Yeah.
And the reason why he was crucified had nothing to do with him revolting against Rome.
Yeah.
Like
there's no evidence of that.
None whatsoever. But these are the things that he wants to be now intellectually dumb about because it suits him. And we brought this up before. We brought this up a while ago about how you can tell his bias because when he just wants to settle on thing, now all of a sudden he doesn't see all the information that's there.
Yeah.
But when he wants to prove somebody wrong, he got everything. He got all his ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So you can tell there's bias. There's partiality there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing with Candace Owens talking to Rabbi Barclay and talking about Rabbi Shmuley, and people are posting all these clips of him like being weird on the internet and him selling butt plugs and lube with his daughter, and
he just laughs. I've seen clips of that.
Yeah,
can't defend that.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about like, why are you selling a culture of basically like sex industry?
Yeah. To me, that guy, Rabbi Shmuley, he's anti everything but you.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the one that sat down with Nick Cannon?
I don't know if that was him. People are also posting, Pornhub is owned by a rabbi.
What?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna look it up right now to fact check it.
By a rabbi? Wow.
People were posting that. I don't know if it may not be true.
Well, they better change that real quick.
Let's see. 2023. Let me see.
No, it wasn't.
Said something.
Nick Cannon didn't sit down with Rabbi Shmuley. He wouldn't have sat down with him. It was a different guy, different rabbi.
Different rabbi.
Jamie's trying to blow our mind. I don't believe it, man.
I don't know. I saw people posting it on Twitter.
Believe
It could be fake news. Could be fake news. I don't know. Oh, this is what I saw. Rabbi Solomon Friedman. Yeah, that's what I saw. Let me see if I can find more info on that. But Rabbi Solomon Friedman. Let me see if that's fake. Attorney, rabbi, private equity firm took over. His private equity firm took over MindGeek, the umbrella company of virtually every porn site. He vowed to save Pornhub from ruin and make it a better place.
Oh yeah, meet the new owner of Pornhub, Rabbi Solomon Friedman.
He is a Jewish attorney and rabbi.
Yeah. Look at James's eyes right now.
He's the new owner of Pornhub. Yeah.
So it wasn't fake news.
He is. Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if she called him an unholy rabbi, is that anti-Semitic too?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Even though you're literally selling a culture of pornography.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tune in tonight for Ben Shapiro reading Cardi B's lyrics.
Yeah, right. Gonna
Turn
talk
down
about
society.
WAP.
I mean, wouldn't we have the same smoke for somebody who was a pastor?
Of course.
It'd be worse.
Porn, like, come
Can
on.
it be?
Of course, bro.
Come on,
Can you
man.
imagine
Yes.
Jamal Bryant owned,
Yeah.
whatever site,
We would be talking about, first of all, on this podcast, we would be talking about any celebrity or any figure that people praise that owns a porn company.
Most of the porn distribution company are owned by Jewish business people.
It's true.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know. It's a good question.
But that's the question. Like, it's not. You can't say, "Oh, it's because they're Jews." No, obviously not.
Right.
That's not what we're saying. Why is that a thing?
Are they playing
Is that
slow
a
game?
problem that's going on? In the community, like
Yeah.
what's going on there? Why is it so many? Like, these are the things we can we ask
Ben
these
Shapiro's
questions?
allowed to ask why there's so many murders in the black community.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. Like,
He's allowed to bring
should
it up.
we be
He's
able
allowed to
to
say
We
that.
should be
Yeah.
able to ask these questions
And quote the statistics of fatherless homes and single motherhood. He's allowed to do all
Yeah,
that.
and we should be able to ask these questions, but then say, "Hey, but I love you anyway.
Yeah.
I love you, and I want the best for you, and I want the best for the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
Oh, Fear just tuned in.
He tuned in right.
Right. As we're talking about the owner of Pornhub. But yeah.
But I think like that's the thing. Like, dude, you don't build deep relationships with people if you're afraid to say stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And if you like, if we're not afraid to, I'm not saying this in the right way. If we're scared to care about people, like truly care about them, and because we want to say things like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Help me understand it. Because even if you ask those questions, okay, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, at least do that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, part of it too is those people, like Ben, are asking and proposing the destruction of society and framing it a certain way, which we agree with.
Yeah.
And we're saying, okay, cool. Yeah, we see that. We could see the correlations.
Yep.
But once the correlations and once these sightings turn to him and his community, it's like, whoa.
Right.
Don't ask those questions.
Right. Because we could say, oh, but these are problems too.
Yeah, those are problems too.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a doctor and you say, I come in to get checked out and my foot has an infection, but I have a giant gash in my head
right.
and I'm bleeding all over the table, I'm like, hey, focus on the foot, sir.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think the head is more important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or vice versa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever. But I feel like it's a case of look over here, don't look over there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But we have to be able to at least be able to say,
yeah, because we're agreeing with certain things. We're agreeing that, look, society, there is some problems with the way we're moving as society, as a collective, as a country, the things that we're entertaining. What we're seeing the things they're talking about.
Right. And I think like when you point out certain things like what Candace Owens did, and then you see the repercussions of that, it makes those people that have the theories dig their heels deeper into those theories, because they're like, yeah, look what happened to them when they talked about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is not a good look.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like.
I said, which is not a good look.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought you said something. Anyway, which seems like, which we should be combating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to be, we don't want those narratives to be out
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Right. But here's what's happening. Like focusing on the Candace Owens things. Like, yes, a lot of black people didn't like Candace at 1st. And that it could be the way Candace was trolling people, but it could also be the way that
the media framed
it too, which I think is a bigger part of it, right?
She was harsh too.
What's undeniable? She was. Was that?
She was harsh.
She was. But I would say this: what's undeniable is this: a lot of the claims that she make are factual, and we've had 4 years, almost 4 years, under a Democrat regime, liberal regime, that everything she has said prior to this, because when Trump was in office, you could easily say, oh, that ain't nonsense.
Yeah.
But we've had concrete evidence of everything that she said is true.
Well, I think that's why a lot of them are bringing her to the table now and be like, all right, let's listen to what you, because we see there's something's going on here.
Come on
like
now.
the things are falling apart.
Come
like,
on now.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing, right? Now here's the internal fight that black people have to ask. Are there black gatekeepers?
Right.
Because you cannot tell me Ivy League, college educated black people don't see what the average person is seeing.
Yeah.
It's either they are truly naive and dumb, or they willfully are saying, nope, we're not going to look at these things.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I think Candace is causing, at least presenting to the rest of us and saying, hey, here's why I say what I say. Now you have 4 years of evidence of things that's been going on for a long time. But now these cities that are run, 60 years of Democrat rule.
Yeah.
Now we have mass undocumented. They're calling them asylum seekers.
Yeah.
We have
undocumented citizens.
Undocumented citizens. We have all these things that we could point to.
Yeah.
Now, why can't we analytically analyze the black community, but nobody else?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Right.
We can't touch them. We can't ask these questions.
And then when you go to the place where you can't even proclaim Jesus now without it being an attack.
Right.
Like it's like we're going too far.
Religious freedom, man.
We're going too far.
They're trying to infringe on that.
Yeah.
Right. And pretty much that's what they're saying to her.
Yeah.
Talk all about the black issues you want.
Right.
Don't talk about these
Yeah.
things.
Yep. Yep. And she said that. That was one of her last episodes. She talked about that. How I feel like there's things that you're not allowed to talk about. If you talk about those things, you will be fired. You will be canceled. They'll try to take your bank account.
Said that too.
Yeah. But yeah.
Somebody. Oh, I probably ain't gonna be able to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a rapper. I think his name Dizzle.
Yeah,
Bizzle.
Dizzle.
Yeah.
I said Dizzle.
Dizzle.
What is his name?
Bizzle.
He's a Christian
For
rapper.
shizzle. He's a Christian rapper. Yeah. He's a huge following on Instagram.
Yeah, he's actually really good too.
He is. He's a very talented rapper.
talented,
Yeah.
But he had a song that he spoke about a little bit about what we were talking about on there, and it was pretty cool.
All right, yeah. Let's wrap it up with a lighter note. Got a little story here.
Hold up. Before that, though, I just
Okay.
want to shout out The Breakfast Club and Joe Budden for giving Candace Owens
A platform.
Yeah.
Joe Budden got dressed up. Somebody say he looked like Inspector Gadget.
Did y'all? I couldn't find that
No,
interview.
it's on Patreon.
It's on Patreon.
Yeah,
You see?
yeah.
Now he's
know.
smart about it.
Yeah,
He
they
put it
know.
on Patreon.
And he got dressed. He got rid of everybody else. It was just him.
It was just him.
Yeah.
He's trying to be Barbara Walters.
some dude did a whole parody and they said, "Look at Joe dressed like Inspector Gadget, trying to get the tea over here."
That is funny. But I did see some articles where they like came at her for that interview. Like they always try to flip it. Just like the Breakfast Club interview, it was just funny watching him say, like, because when she talked about her husband being white, she said, I fell in love with him because he was smart. And she, how did she phrase it? She was like, for me, like, I'm always on the go and I'm always thinking about things in a certain way. So I needed somebody who could keep up with that. Oh, Candace Owens is saying that black men can't be on her intellectual level. They're low IQ.
Right.
See how they just take stuff and just run with it, man.
That is such a fallacy.
But that's what I saw people,
Yeah, but that's the
writing.
problem.
Yeah.
Only the people. It just reminds me of like silly women always learning, never.
Always coming at women, bro.
those scriptures are there because why? Because it's back in those days. The less that you're educated, right, which is connected to discipline, the more susceptible you are to stuff like that. And that's the problem. Because if you so what you're saying is, how many people are going to be like,
yeah,
are you saying it? Turn that head. But people who think a little bit are like, he never said that.
Yeah.
Or she never said that. You know what I mean?
And I don't. Here's why, like, that argument of her being interracial is stupid. I think people aren't falling for those triggers anymore.
Yeah.
So I think people, when they see that, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Because every commercial is a black woman and a white guy.
Yep. Yeah.
Turn any commercial. They're selling tires. They're catching birds. They're cutting the grass. They're at IKEA.
And
That's
plus,
what you see.
we just watched a whole year of black women talking about how, they
Love is love.
Love is love.
Find the love.
Yeah. Making excuses for dating white men.
Yeah,
you know
come
what
on.
I mean?
Yeah, you don't dog her out, man.
Yeah.
Leave that woman alone.
Yeah. But in other news, this might hit the black community real hard too right here. I got a story from the New York Post. Mom, pull this up.
Well, that's something right there.
We'll end it up.
Yeah, I was trying to find out.
So apparently Chick-fil-A announces that it will no longer serve antibiotic-free chicken.
Oh.
Antibiotic-free chicken. They're not going to sell it anymore.
We do not want this sickness. This is sick and it's therefore deviant. We do not want it.
All right. Number one, that's the least of their worries. Have y'all seen what's in their chicken?
I have seen it. It's It's crazy.
Yeah. That's why it's so delicious. Okay, it was bad anyway.
It's like pumped full of I saw like it was pumped full of MSG.
See,
I never liked
You never like Chick-fil-A's man, their sandwiches are good.
Chick-fil-A may be terrible, but their service is so good.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
The service is,
they messing it up.
I mean, it might be biohazardous. But can I just be in line?
Is so good.
I just want to be talked to like a regular person. Hello.
But now doesn't it seem more evil than ever? Because they're like feeding you poison and they're saying, my pleasure.
As they play Christian music.
Yeah. Christ is king.
Christ is my firm foundation.
We're Mormons.
Yeah. So they've been trying to kill Christians this whole time.
Yo, this is the Black Dynamite plot right here, boy.
See, when you look at the letters from Chick-fil-A and you use their alphabetic numeric system, what you get is 666. Chick-fil-A is the mark of the beast.
Chick-fil-A is awesome, though, man. The service.
I know.
I'm not touting
really
there. I'm just saying.
Kanye did make a song about it.
He sure did.
Service.
I never knew why people loved it so much.
What? Chick-fil-A is
delicious.
It's the best fast food chicken sandwich. Like
they're the best fast food restaurant
Yeah.
chain.
All right, Mom.
Period.
Remember that time we went to Chick-fil-A and we ordered like 1,000 things and they did, and we had all these. They didn't mess up nothing in
We
that
were
order.
sure we were going back.
Yeah.
Like we going back.
Yeah. We had a whole house full of people here. We put in a
Not in
great.
Cherry Hill.
Well, that's a little. You're
Cherry
dealing with a different,
Puerto Ricans
little
over
bit, little bit different
We got
employment
whites over in this
status
section.
over there. Yeah, it's nothing but whites over here, and a couple of very look like college bound blacks.
Listen, and they put all the sauces in a separate bag. Who does that?
Bro?
They didn't pile everything in.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is the only fast food restaurant where this happened to me twice. Oh, your meal is on us today.
Yeah,
twice.
They will do that randomly.
Yeah,
and now with their system, man, the point system. I didn't got so much free food.
Yeah.
Listen, because it's poison.
Exactly, man. I know. See, that's why I had to tell that story. We got to wake up, guys.
Stop eating chicken.
No more my pleasure.
Right.
That's funny.
And on another note, another one of my favorite foods in the world, probably the best food to exist to mankind, and I'll fight anybody over this. Cheese. Cheese is the best food that exists on the planet. It is the most versatile food that exists. I don't care what anybody says. Cheese makes everything better.
I came a little later to cheese.
Okay, what's wrong with cheese?
I'm about to show you, but first let me go on my rant about how there is nothing you can eat that cheese doesn't make better. I dare anyone to mention one thing that cheese will not elevate.
Enhance.
I'm talking about cheese is the only food that you can eat at any meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert.
You can't put cheese in pho, bro.
Yeah, you can put cheese in it, bro.
You can put cheese in pho.
Tofu is basically cheese.
You can put cheese in ramen, though.
I've seen they do put cheese in ramen.
Yeah.
They do put cheese in. I've seen people do that all the time.
Koreans started that.
Bro, you could put. I bet you if you put a nice like cheese curd in pho, it would be good. I bet you.
Come on, show what's
I've been trying to improve my my pho.
Yo, Mo made some. I don't know if y'all saw me post that pho he made.
No,
it was good.
I toasted the spices and everything. The only thing is I didn't have noodles.
Yeah, and Ran was talking trash.
It was still good though.
She was like, "What are those noodles?"
Dude, the noodles they're so high in carbs.
They are.
They're like
all noodles are.
No, but I'm saying the rice
noodles.
The rice noodles. They're like 75
grams of carbs.
Yeah,
so delicious.
Yeah, I know. That's why they're so good. But anyway, so let's look at what's going on with cheese, y'all.
90% of U.S. cheese has now been infiltrated by one of the world's largest biopharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, and it has GMOs. Traditionally, cheese is made with just 4 ingredients: milk, salt, starter culture, and animal rennet, which is a clotting agent that's used to curdle milk into cheese. Today, there are 4 different kinds of rennet used in the cheese industry, and reports are stating that the most commonly used kind is a genetically modified version called FPC, or fermentation-produced chymosin, made by Pfizer. These alternative rennets are both cheaper to use and speed up the aging process, which, like always, means greater profits. The crazy part is, no one knows that they're eating this or how it's really affecting us. Because this FPC rennet is labeled as grass or generally recognized as safe, it creates a loophole that exempts Pfizer.
Generally recognized as safe. Don't you love Don't you? We were just talking about government and regulations. They don't regulate this stuff out though. Generally recognized as safe. Let's keep going.
Pfizer or other companies from having to label these products as GMO. And due to Pfizer's massive amount of wealth and power, it's now made its way into about 90% of our cheese. But how is this affecting us? Because this is newer technology, we don't yet know for sure, but there has been a number of researchers addressing concern. After all, the only unbiased safety study used to approve these FPCs was evaluated by this short-term 90-day trial in rats. However, researchers are concerned about its toxicity, or the biotoxins from GMOs, as well as digestive issues for humans, as these rennet alternatives can serve as an allergen. While I'd love to present you with a list of cheeses to avoid as well as the ones that are safe, there's just way too many cheeses out there. So if you can, look for the kind of rennet or enzyme used in the cheese. I would seek out animal or traditional rennets first, then potentially some vegetable rennets, and I'd avoid cheeses containing any microbial or genetically modified rennets altogether.
So the good news is you just got to look at the labels a little bit when you get your cheese to make sure they're not using genetically modified rennets.
It's not
They
right.
just want they want to kill us, man.
We got to make
You know
our
what's
own
crazy
cheese.
about that? What you're saying? I read not too long ago. The United States and Australia are really open their laws with food.
Yeah.
But around the rest of the world,
Most of this stuff is banned.
Yeah, it's banned.
Yeah.
It's just-
There's something interesting
strange,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Really.
I was watching a Jordan Peterson debate with Destiny, which we should like break down some clips from that. But they were talking about climate change, and he was going on about like the nefarious intent of the climate change agenda. And Destiny, of course, was like, "Well, why would they do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, what would be the point of that?" And he said, "Well, what about
always what they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always what
That's
they say,
always
right?"
that
But
argument.
Jordan Peterson just threw it back at him like, "Well, what do they tell us all the time? These are the same people that have told us that there's too many people on the planet. Why don't we take them at their word? They're telling us that there's too many people, and then they're putting in all these things in place that's going to kill millions of people. What do you think why they're doing it? You know what I mean? Like, they're not lying about it.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, I saw that clip.
Yeah.
I was gonna clip it, but then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
right. I had all this other stuff. So
yeah, I mean, the people that are constantly telling us at the WEF, Klaus Schwab, all these people that work with Pfizer, with all these companies that are doing these things to our food, they're constantly saying that the planet is overpopulated.
They've been saying that.
Been saying that.
Yeah.
So
how are they guys gonna sell it?
1 + 1 is 2. I don't know what else to tell you.
1
Like,
+ 1 is 3, bro.
yeah, that's true. Nowadays, that's what they want you to think. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, watch your cheese, guys.
Imported cheese.
That one hurt my heart, man. That one hurt I love cheese.
You know, Jamie, man. When Jamie makes his mac and cheese,
Yeah, man.
heads
Looking
off to
for my-
Wegmans.
Yeah. Gotta get my smoked Gruyere. Man. I gotta look for them enzymes now.
You know what's? You know, I think though. You know, real quick.
Yeah.
I think this, right? I think we always talk about society and all these things, but none of us as a collective, we're not really willing to show the corporate American, the corporate world, businesses that we really mean business in terms of how we spend our money. So we won't shop locally. We won't go to local farmers.
Yeah.
We won't boycott movies. We won't give up our courtside tickets. There's a lot of things that we just won't do.
Yeah.
And
sacrifices.
we won't sacrifice.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you tell people that we're fed up?
Yeah.
Don't consume it.
Stop spending money. Yeah.
You know, I think about, you know, speaking of P. Diddy, right? Ciroc and all the stuff like that. Do you really need that?
Nope.
Do you really
Well,
need?
he don't own that no more.
I know, but I'm saying like the idea of like running out and buying
Yeah.
these things. Do you need to buy certain things? Do you
Yeah.
need to go get a brand? Do you need to buy a brand name thing? You could go support your local farmer or whatever. A lot of us don't do that.
No, we got to be in with the trends, man. If you're not part of the trends, it's not fun. Shaniqua said, "Gotta love the Lord's chicken." Courtney said, "Cheese is great." Thera said, "Cold cereal." Oh, you can eat cheese with cold cereal. Well, throw some little some little cottage cheese in there.
Listen, Jamie is the king. Listen, nobody. I have never seen anybody ever go into a cabinet, open it, and Jamie turned that. Who's the scientist? The Back to the Future.
Oh, Doc.
Yeah, Doc. When
Brown.
Jamie goes in the kitchen, he is Doc.
His hair turns like that too.
Great Scott!
His beard.
What's for dinner?
Right?
Now I'm almost like that too, bro. Like you go in the fridge
That's
and just
'cause
invent something to cook.
Well, when you grow up poor,
Yeah.
you
You learn how to make it work, man.
Right.
And Courtney said, not the cheese. Yeah, I know, Courtney. But yeah, listen, guys, thank you guys for watching. Shout out to everybody who's been with us the whole time. Make sure you guys, before you leave, share this video one more time. Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We didn't mention it before, but if you want to support what we do, these conversations, the things that we talk about, you know, we try not to be censored by the algorithm, but it does a great job of not letting people know when we're live. So if you guys want to support in any way, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/youngliontv. Sign up to become a member over there. For as little as $3 a month, you can support what we do, become a part of the pride of the Young Lions. Join us, be a part of the community. We love each other here over at the Young Lions, and we help each other out. We support each other. We come to each other's things, and we just a community for each other. So join that at the Patreon. And also, if you want to just donate to what we do, you can hit us on the Cash App, $YoungLionTV. Help us keep the lights on and the cables going and the microphones working and all that stuff. Get some better cameras too. We're working on that. So shout out to everybody who's been watching. Thank you once again for everybody who's been here. It was a good conversation. If you guys want to, people have been over that clip that went viral, 5 million views now. People have been emailing us with information. Just to let you know, I hit up the Red Cross website and they told me. Like, people have been emailing us like they angry, boy. But yeah, so
that's the Red Cross.
I know, right?
Get them.
But yeah, but we appreciate y'all, man. Thank you guys for those who have been allowing us to do this for so many years. We're just trying to keep this community going, keep the conversations going, and change culture, change things, and also speak about Jesus and let everybody know that Christ is King. We love you guys. See you guys next week. Peace.
Christ is King.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This